Welcome to the Dan Dillman Live Podcast, where we question the history and mysteries of the past while exploring people and stories from around the world. Join us as we delve into everything from hidden treasures and ancient secrets to the unexplained phenomena capturing our imaginations. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome tonight. My name is Dan Dillman, and we've got another great show tonight with my good friend, Michael FreeHawk Polani. We're going to be getting into interdimensional beings. We're going to be talking about crop circles. We're going to be talking about all kinds of different things, and I probably should read his bio, but I don't want to wait too long to bring him on the screen. My man, my good friend, Michael FreeHawk. Michael, how you doing tonight, man? Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much for having me, Dan. This is fantastic.
Well, I appreciate it. Now, I am, now that I got you on screen, I feel better about, I'm going to read some of this bio really quick. So for those of you out there in the world, because we're broadcasting worldwide here, for those of you out there in the world, this is Michael FreeHawk, a good friend of mine. And so, you know, once again, we're talking about mysteries of interdimensional encounters and crop circle phenomena. Michael was born and raised in the Bay Area. He's currently residing in Prescott, Arizona. Michael's been interacting with the unknown since a young age, experiencing a profound awakening at 12 years old, that magic number 12. Throughout his distinguished career, Michael has collaborated with leading researchers like Linda Moulton Howe. I'm sure many of you know who that is. And the late Dr. William Levengood, delving deep into the mysteries of crop formations and their healing frequencies. And he's also an esteemed speaker where he's spoken at MUFON conferences and others. He's highly respected by the MUFON teams and communities. And he's just got a wealth of knowledge in so many subjects, you know, like myself. You know, I'm kind of all over the map with everything unexplained. And I think Michael, you know, is that way too. Maybe not all over the map, but, you know, he's precise. I'm crazy and all over the map, crazy in a good way. In addition, Michael is a skilled Reiki master. So we'll talk about that, you know, remote healing, Reiki healing. He's an Arcturian healer and a sound healing practitioner. So specializing, again, in distant healing. So anyway, I've probably read too much because I want you to share all this stuff. We got some people ringing in too real quick. Michael, I just want to let you know. What's up, Price Productions? Thank you for being here. We appreciate you. And I Snot. You know, I was calling you I Shot last week, and it's I Snot. So what's up, I Snot? Appreciate you guys. Anyway, let's get into it, man. Michael, first of all, we haven't seen each other since COVID, for sure, since COVID kicked in. What the heck's been going on? But I got a bunch of questions for you. So what has been going on? And I'm going to be quiet and let you say something.
Yeah, well, thank you. And again, thanks for having me, Dan. This is long overdue, but we're right on time. So, and it was definitely PC. It was pre-COVID the last time you and I spoke. And we are living in a different world from then. But there are some things that remain the same, and I know we're probably going to talk about some of those things and address some of those things. But, you know, really since I left the Bay Area in 2020, I moved up to, as you read, Prescott. People who are not from here will say Prescott. People who are from here or live here, it is Prescott. And that's kind of a joke. They have T-shirts and so forth and so on.
I apologize to everyone for the mispronunciation.
No, you're good. You're in good company. So, you know, this town is a lot smaller than the San Francisco Bay Area. It's a whole different vibe. I've acclimated to this area quite well the last 4 years. It's given me a really good opportunity to expand my practice, to expand consciousness, if we're being honest. It's a whole different vibe. I'm not far from Sedona, so I spend as much time as I can up in Sedona. The energy up there is off the charts, as you know. And a couple 3 hours away from area that your family knows pretty well, the Superstitious Mountains. Or superstition.
Superstition.
Yes. So I mean, it's a beautiful area. I'm about 10 minutes away from my mom, so it was kind of a no-brainer when I moved from the Bay Area to come out here and be closer to her, and it's been pretty magical. Things that I was experiencing on the fringe topics, that is, in the Bay Area, has all but it's followed me here. So recently, within the last, I think, 6 months, I finally started writing my book, and that book is going to be just really just an ordinary guy who's had extraordinary experiences, and it's kind of time for me to get all that out, start talking about it, and again, this world is changing very fast. I need to get this book written and get it out before everything else changes.
Right, for sure, for sure. I'm getting some reports of echo, and so I'm going to make a quick change here, real quick, just to confirm, because I thought we had it gone. Someone says it is gone, but I know that on some of these other scenes that I switched to, like this one, that I'm just gonna have to switch. Yeah, it's something trippy.
Yeah, you sound more clear on a couple different angles. So
How about now? I just want to make sure that everyone is hearing no echo. For a quick second, it may have come back, but hopefully now. There we go. All right. So,
okay.
damn it, I'm not going to play any more game. I did some testing before we went live. We went live. You didn't hear any echo, but clearly our wonderful friends out there are hearing echo. So hopefully it's gone. Please, everyone, ring in real quick and let me know the echo is gone. What's up, Nicholas? What's up, Saunders Clark? Hey, Nicholas Burnett. Thank you guys for joining tonight. Let us know if the echo is gone. I hope it is, because I want to get down to the nitty gritty with my bud here, and I don't want to no echo. All right, right on. So apparently, when I use my MacBook for streaming, even if I hook up an external microphone, it still wants to somehow pass audio through the built-in mic, creating this echo, I believe. So if I mute my external mics and just use the MacBook, everything's fine. Can you hear me okay, Michael, can you hear me okay now?
Yeah, your audio is a little bit lower than it was before this.
Got it. Well, that sucks.
Now,
So,
when you said got it, it sounded great.
okay, well, I'm going to speak a little louder then, because I'm normally I'm talking on this guy here when it works. And so right now I'm just going to talk louder. So let's get into this. Have Michael speak. Michael, go ahead and speak really quick so that these guys can make sure there's no echo.
Okay. All right. Check 1, check 2, 3, 4. Check. How's everybody doing?
All right. They haven't responded yet, but I'm going to believe that it's gone. I bet it's gone.
A little bit more. Say no to GMOs. Say no to GMOs.
All right. They say you have a bit of a delay. Let me switch. Let me remember that other thing we messed with, Michael.
Yep.
Let me just switch that. Hopefully it doesn't lose us. Did it switch for you, Michael, to where it's just me now on the camera?
Yes.
Screen? All right. Folks, how is it now for Michael?
Hello. How's everybody doing out there?
Do you have another speaker playing in your studio, they're asking? Or clearly you have audio playing. Is it loud? Can you turn it down to where you can still hear me? Or is there...
Actually, there's nothing else but a very small fan about 10 feet away.
Okay. Yeah, they say you're echoing. So they do say that you are echoing, and that sucks. I'm not hearing it, though.
Let's see. I just move that away a little bit.
You know what? Hold on. Folks, let me know if that echo is gone. There's an option I could check that probably got unchecked when we switched microphones. Go ahead and talk now, Michael, because I did hopefully.
Okay. All right, everybody. How's it sound? How do we sound, everybody? Are we good? Any echo? Hello.
And I apologize to everyone out there, because this is not what I want you guys to, invest your time in hearing echoes. I mean, unless we're on some kind of space journey, then
right.
This
is live radio.
That's it, man. We are live as it can be. They're still saying it's the same, man, which is really a trip. You know, I don't.
Interesting. I was going to say,
Still,
move the mic away a little bit.
you know, I'm gonna check.
Anybody else?
I'm gonna check another preference. What was I gonna check? Oh yeah, I know what I'm gonna check here. Not the kind of vibe I want to have, man. Yeah, see, no, that's
It's the
awkward.
Gremlins.
That's it. They're just trying to stop the vibe. We won't let them. We won't let it stop the vibe. All right, it's part of the adventure. No worries, Dan. So let's. Uh, some people think it's that your his computer and his microphone are on. It seems is what it sounds like. That you've got like somehow you're passing audio through both ways. Is what they're. On.
Interesting.
But let's just move on. Yeah, unless there's something you could check.
Okay, yeah, I just everything's about the same. So yeah, let me know.
Okay. All right. Well,
let me know, and yeah, we'll just move forward.
All right. So everyone's saying no worries, they are hearing it, but once again, if there was something to turn down or what have you, it'd be great. But let's do this, man. Let's talk interdimensional beings because much like myself, you have had encounters with interdimensional beings, and did that happen at 12 years old? Can you tell me, your first experience with?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that the 12-year-old experience was the first conscious experience that I had. So, it's a kind of a long story. I can encapsulate it to where it makes perfect sense. It was the auspicious time of 3:15 in the morning, and sleeping in my bed, and felt sensations on my back. I was sleeping on my stomach, and apparently this lasted for quite some time, but the clock never changed off of 3:15 a.m. There was some work that was apparently done physically to me. It was more of a medical procedure, and this was all kind of brought out years later. I did a lot of regression work with the famous Barbara Lamb. And Barbara Lamb is an amazing regression therapist. And we did hours of work together. And it brought out that night. And that was when I was 12. So a lot of things happened since then, but it answered a lot of questions for me. So there was a medical procedure of some kind done. My lower back, tailbone area. There was scarring that shows that something took place that night, and it was a pretty wild experience. And through that regression, I call it interdimensional because it was two beings that they kind of transported themselves through the bedroom wall. So there, and it was kind of a portal situation through that wall. They came through. One was kind of putting some kind of, it was more of an energetic. Now, being that I'm a energy Reiki master practitioner, so forth, so on, I kind of understand what was being done now. There was energy being put on the back of my neck that kind of acted as like almost like an epidural. And it cut off sensation to my lower half. And whatever they needed to do, they did it in that period of time. What was interesting is that time in my life, I did have some medical issues in the abdomen, colon, tailbone area. And not long after that experience, that situation was no longer there. So, of course, years passed, and I read many other accounts. A gentleman named Preston Dennett, amazing author. He's got numerous books now. And one of those books talks about very benevolent encounters that people have had with interdimensional beings, extraterrestrials. that have fixed ailments. I mean, everything from cancers to blood disorders to heart issues. So it's not as uncommon as people may think. So that experience at 12 years old, that kind of blew me out of the water, so to speak. And I never really looked at the 3D world the same, to be honest. That changed pretty much everything. And I mean, I did things like normal kids did. I didn't talk about it with anybody else. Um, high school years came around. I played football and had aspirations of being professional and all that good stuff. But it always kind of stayed on the back burner until later in life, and that was probably one of the better experiences that I've had.
Wow, man, wow.
Yeah.
It's so many people don't have those experiences, right? They've never had them. Sometimes they don't understand them, but they're really profound. When you have experienced, something like that.
Right.
Preston. I was recently on another podcast where he was a guest and I was a guest, so I just met him. I hadn't heard of him
Oh
before.
wow.
Yeah, but that dude is.
Wow.
He's a super book writer and seems to be really connected, man.
Seriously, that guy, I mean, he writes like no other. It just keeps coming and keeps coming. I don't know how he does it, but I remember when he had like two books out, and now I think he's got like 24 or something.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
it's insane. So,
That is crazy. Do you remember? And you may have said it, and I'm not gonna lie. Some of that, I was of course trying to work audio, and
right.
it says, "Dan, you're low." All right, I'm gonna try to speak up. Hopefully that's better. So,
Yeah, you
uh,
sound better.
okay, so I'll make sure to speak up. It do you remember any colors to these interdimensional beings? Do you have a description of any of the beings that you interacted with?
Right. It's interesting about that, Dan, is that I felt like over the years that there was like a screen kind of memory to that, and it kind of carried over into the regression with Barbara Lamb, that I could see everything with the exception of their faces. I mean, they were humanoid without a doubt, but it was almost like even through the regression there was a blurred aspect. And I'll compare it to, if you're looking online and there's individuals, say, in a picture that's posted, that haven't given their consent to be in that picture. So there's that blur feature. So you blur out a face of somebody.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's actually what it looked like in my regression. I could see the one being up high on the back of my neck near kind of the brain stem, and then the other one down low near the waist area. But it was grayish, black and white, and to me it didn't seem like that was actually what they looked like.
Gotcha.
It was something that was screened or cloaked. Uh, I don't know if it was for my own good at 12, uh, or as an adult getting that memory back, because it's not something that would scare me. And I think they know that I've had enough interactions and communication that it's not something that startles me or scares me. They're a part of the family. So I still find that interesting because I would love to have that clarity. But unfortunately, the colors that you're asking about, that only came kind of later in life. That was something unrelated to that experience. So to answer that question while we're on it, I've had more bluish beings, which to me signifies more of Arcturian race. And I've had a lot of interactions and synchronicities with Arcturian beings, hence the Arcturian healing practitioner. And right now I'm kind of knee deep in that. I've got a web page that's being created right now. I've got a certain logo that's connected to Arcturian beings,
Right.
and it's going to be like a healing practice and a healing modality. That's the Ohori way, and Ohori is just it's a species of Arcturian, and there's many, and that is the one that I think I've interacted with out of any of them. Even craft, even orbs, even meditations, communications that are, I hesitate to always say telepathic. It's more of a knowing. It's words kind
Right.
of that are
Yeah.
popped into my head. And when I do like when I see clients and I do energy work, I just kind of follow their lead. And it's taken me a long time to get to that point. And that is definitely one of the things that I've been doing since I've been here in Prescott. There's not as many diversions in Prescott as there is in the Bay Area. So I've had a chance to really buckle down and do some serious inner work. And I've had amazing teachers, and
Right.
it's what I love to do. And I still have my typical 9 to 5 job. But when I'm not working, I'm either helping mom out or I'm seeing clients, and I'm working on this modality. And as long as the cosmic family is communicating with me and keeping that communication open, I'm here to listen and to help people with that. And I know a lot of people, whether it's religious stuff, certain spiritual beliefs, they tend to wrap a lot of the extraterrestrial topics into that of it's demonic, or they're evil, or they're malevolent. That hasn't been my experience. Any kind of communication that I've had, any kind of experience that I've had, it's always been benevolent. They're always aware of the one infinite creator, always aware of Christ consciousness. It's never been anything that has been dark or harmful. So as long as they're, acknowledging and giving credit to that one infinite creator and
Right. Yeah.
and love,
Yeah.
I'm all for it, and I'll be a
Yeah.
part of that, spreading that love. The minute that there's any kind of darkness, there's any kind of this way is the only way, or do it, no, that then it doesn't feel right. Then that's when you go with your gut and you run for the hills.
Well, the reason why I asked about the colors is because I've, had interdimensional being experiences and or spiritual, spirit beings, interdimensional beings in a way
Right.
the same, but there's different levels, and
Yeah.
that's a whole other conversation possibly, or we can get into that. But for me, it's they've been like blue, like a baby blue sky, beautiful blue
Yeah.
of my experiences, and then also even the extremely white, but they've still had humanish form, most of them,
Right.
not everything, but humanish form. Even eyes. Some have been big eyes. It appears to be.
Mm-hmm.
I always find it, which is a trip because I even say it out loud sometimes. Why is it you always want to visit me at night? You know,
Right.
or why am I having these experiences at night? And a lot of the times, lots of them have been from I've been asleep and I've waken up. They're not dreams. Trust me, I've had dreams and dreams of
No.
dreams and that kind of stuff. But
Right.
these real experiences have mostly happened at night. I go, what's going on? Why can't high noon when I'm out back meditating? Hey, that'd be a good time. That'd be a good time for a
Yes.
visitation. Um, so it's just
Absolutely.
it's interesting. And now for you, a lot of it was from the past life regression, right? And then of course, once those memories, were recollected to you, and did they
Yeah.
arise back into your consciousness, and did you start having more glimpses of those experiences in your waking state?
Yeah. It started to piece together, and for me, it's never been a quick process. I mean, there's still things that I'm trying to figure out from, meditations when I was still in the Bay Area 4 years ago. Little bits and pieces of this puzzle, and then you may get something down the road that connects with it, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's what it was. So when the regressions with Barber were done, it definitely unlocked a lot more. Things started to make sense. I mean, something as simple as the aspect of the digital clock when I was 12 years old. It was right by my bedside, and the big red digital letters. It never dawned on me that I had this regression that took hours to do by the time we were done, and not one memory was that clock was off of 3:15. So that started to tie into other things about how whether somebody's getting taken aboard a craft, somebody is taken astrally, time is not the same in other realms. Time is I mean, Travis Walton comes to mind. He had the 5-6 day growth, and I don't even think he was gone that long. So I mean, he was gone that long somewhere else, but here in this 3D realm, he wasn't gone that long. So I mean, there's a lot of science behind the fact that time just is not the same once you leave the confines of this three-dimensional planet that we find ourselves living on right now. So it did open up a whole bunch of other stuff, and that was just one of them.
Yeah. I want to make sure people can hear me okay and hear Michael ring in. I want to bring something up that Price Production said. He said, I grew up in the country on the Texas plains in the middle of nowhere. Lots of strange things happened out there. Visits by beings for sure happened to my entire family. But he says, nothing nice about what I experienced. More terror than anything. To this day, I can't go to bed till after 3 a.m. So, some people have those experiences. Now, my
Yeah.
family in the past have had experiences with negative forces, but that was
Mm-hmm.
still when we gave power to the negative forces.
Right.
Something that I've learned, and I'll have you ring in on this too, because it is possible to have these negative experiences.
Oh yeah.
And I can, like I said, I can share mine, saying, I was Tammy. What's up, Tammy? Tammy, Schneck. I'm gonna mess your last name up, girl, and we know each other. Anyway, Tammy Schneck Schensker, right? You're gonna correct me later. Anyway, Tammy says I wake up at that time almost every day. And then Price Production says, no way. He talks about 3 a.m. as well. That blows his mind that you're mentioning 3 a.m. as well. So, real
Yeah.
quick, why don't you touch on that? Why? Because, I've heard this before. And in fact, I find myself that, that 3 a.m. seems to be some type of, it's 3 a.m. our time for whatever
Right.
correlates. Share some of that real quick.
Through my research and talking to other experiencers, as well as clients of QHHT that Dolores Cannon developed for regression, it seems to come down to the positioning of Earth and the moon and the sun. So, I mean, we've heard this, once upon a time, this saying was pretty cool. Now it's used quite often, is when the veils between the worlds are very thin. And at that time, there seems to be a reduction in magnetics on the planet at 3 a.m. And I think it's actually between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. And like you said, Dan, it's universal. So whenever it's 3 a.m. for your time zone, that's when the magnetics seem to be the lowest. So when that occurs, it tends to open up doorways that may not be there at, as you mentioned, high noon.
Right.
Um,
Right.
they're stronger at that point simply because of the positioning of the planets. So a lot of solar activity, the moon. That seems to be the unanimous reason, or at least the main reason why it does happen at that hour. And they call that the witching hour. I think when you go to um, many of like we got quite a few reservations out here, as you know. Um, Most of the elders will tell you the same thing. That's when they see a lot of activity, skinwalkers, things of that nature, things that may not be totally benevolent. It's the doorways are open a little bit more. So just picture a big door, and if that thing's closed during the days for the most part, at that time between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m., that door starts to open up a little bit, and things can get in there. And if they choose to do that, you may have an experience.
Yeah. And it's so universal. I almost, want to say that it must be some kind of cosmic law or order to things that exists because it's so consistent throughout people's experiences
Yeah.
that there's clearly, some cosmic divine law, whatever,
Oh
in
yeah.
place for it to be happening at that time. And I would even imagine it's quite possible different levels of spiritual attainment even by these interdimensional beings
Right.
that have access to us or this realm at different times and periods because
You
the
bet.
the cosmos seems to have some cosmic laws. There's a lot of man-made laws that can be broken because they're not
Yep.
real laws. They're not cosmic, fixed that we can't break. Um, but some of these other
Exactly.
ones are clearly
Yeah.
cosmic laws because they work and they consistently work. Negative
It's true.
force. Oh, go ahead. Oh no, I don't want
No,
to say anything.
oh no, I was going to say it's true, and there's another component, and or an additional component to a lot of the experiences that people may have, and is it a peaceful one? Is it a dark one? I see a correlation between where people are at that time in their life, what's going on. I wish I had $1 for every time I heard somebody, tell me, "Oh, I'm going to go up to Sedona," or "Me and my wife are going up to Sedona, and we're going to have a great dinner. Just it's going to be blissful. We're gonna enjoy the vortexes and that beautiful energy." Well, what that particular person didn't mention to me was they were going up there because their marriage was on the rocks, and it had been that way for a while. And they thought, well, we're going to go up here and we're going to just get, blissed out with this amazing red rock energy, and it's just going to change everything around. Well, when you go to a sacred site like that, it amplifies what you bring. so so they ended up getting divorced, but they tried to stay there for a week, and they couldn't do it. It was off the charts, and I've heard that story different ways, but numerous times. Your sound just went out.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
All right, trippy. So
Hmm.
it's what people are coming with. So what you
Yeah.
spoke on, their experience is absolutely, I believe, based on what they're coming with. What they're what not what they're just speaking with their lips, because what we're speaking
Yeah.
with our lips aren't the full power. It's that combination of words,
Yeah.
feeling, and thought. Those three working together as one, like many things in the cosmic laws of the three working, together.
You bet.
So so even speaking on some of those negative experiences people have, I've had what I believe to be negative experiences as a teenager, but I was in a
Hmm.
negative space. I
Right.
was angry and upset with my dad for a certain incident that was happening because he was always having his friends that and they were partying, and I was probably
Yeah.
12 years old at this time, and they would party and go all the time, and my spirit wasn't about it. don't get me wrong, there was some fun to it because they were cracking jokes before they got too messed up. Cracking
Yeah.
jokes as a little kid, and they're making fun, and it was all fun and games until it just the energy changed. And as a kid, feeling that stuff, and I'd get mad. And so one
Yeah.
experience, I don't know if I've shared this with you, but we're at this apartment. It was in Hayward. I was probably, I imagine, about 12 or 13. And my dad and I was pissed at my dad. He had his friends staying over the night before. They were partying hard. I thought they were doing drugs and drinking. I was like, man, I'm sick and tired. So I'm here, a little kid yelling at my dad. He's at the top of the stairs. And I want to make sure people can, Dan is muted. Okay, I'm not muted now. All right. He's at the top of the stairs and I'm letting him have it, man. I'm going, screw you. I hate you. I hate this. I hate this style of living. I don't want to live like this. I don't want these people here spending the night partying, blah, blah, blah. And dude, I was so mad. And then, no baloney. I had all this anger yelling at him. And then all of a sudden, to the right of me was our garage door. There's the front door and the garage door kind of like right next to each other. That garage door opened on its own and went bam, bam, bam. Dude, chills ran up my spine. My dad's up at the top of the stairs because he's telling me you're not my son. You're talking crazy. Almost like he's saying I'm possessed, right? I wasn't possessed. I was pissed and giving all this energy that I had received right back. But he starts saying that stuff. Our dishes in the kitchen, kid you not, smash. Now fear ran so bad for me. I ran upstairs like a little girl. Not that little girls are not brave, so I should just say
Well,
I ran
that's
up the
true.
stairs scared. My wife was braver than me as little kids. Anyway, so run up the stairs, and my dad is in the name of Jesus, and I'm grabbing on him. We're both scared. He's scared. I'm scared. And what's funny, and it ain't funny, is that no baloney. Of course, it all stopped, especially when all that anger turned to us coming together, in
Yeah.
unity, both being scared, but then also having love in that moment. It all stopped. But I kid you not, 2 weeks later, my dad had straight up rented a new apartment, and we moved out of there because he was convinced the place was possessed.
Wow.
Now, from that experience, I fully believe today, though, I fully believe today that was straight up some form of telekinesis, the anger within in me, because when I really ponder it and think about it, I didn't feel there was no devil there, no evil spirit, but man, that anger that was in me upset because it was more than my words. I was tying
Yeah.
together my full emotion with my full thought and with my full word, and we moved. We left that place because that energy was not cool about what was going down there. So anyway, I want to share that with you and share it with the
Yeah.
world because
Yep.
here we can reflect and I can feel really confident that I didn't have a demon show up or a ghost show up to scare me, but in fact it was happening within my own self. It was drama and
Yeah.
energies that I was carrying
Yeah.
with me. What do you think about that?
Well, I absolutely think that what you're talking about is probably what that was. It shows how powerful we are as human beings. Um, I mean, we were gifted with all kinds of things. It depends on how we're using those gifts. Uh, there are other instances like that. I mean, I've had close relationships with people who have attachments, and they are. I won't go so far as say demonic attachments, but I will say they are disembodied attachments, spirits that really thrive on the individual's trauma, unhealed trauma, abuse, and they latch on to that. And it's just it's a very good reminder on why it's pretty important to resolve that inner turmoil. Whether it's from childhood or from 5 years ago, it's not a quick overnight thing, but it's something that I see a lot of my clients with. I mean, I've had clients who are 80 years old, and when we sit and talk before doing a session, they're talking about that thing that happened when they were 4 years old,
Right.
and they're 80. You know, that energy stays and it manifests in the body. It'll get stuck somewhere, and it'll turn into a manifestation of, as you know, what we call dis-ease in the body,
Right.
and it'll manifest right there, and it's a real thing. And when you marry that with possibly land that's got some funky mojo in it, and then you're beginning to relate to that disembodied spirit with your anger and your energy. I mean, they just made a new friend. You know, like, oh my God, this guy just said he hates his dad. Let's jump in here and let's get a part of this. I've seen that all too often. And you know, I mean, Arizona, I mean, everywhere has that in the land, but some areas of this planet have some pretty dark, stuck energy that needs to be sent on its way, because it will affect the people who reside on that land,
Yeah.
and
And
it's a co-creation.
let's talk about that real quick. I want to share some comments here. Um, so Price Productions. Oh, Craig Andes. What's up, Craig? What's up? What's up? Um, so Price says it always stops in the name of Jesus. So I want to touch on that. I want you. I got something, but I'll let you respond first. And then Ryan Hartsink, that's one of my brothers, and he says I always remember that story when your dad told me. It's my stepbrother. It's my brother, but for clarification, he's my stepbrother. That's why he wasn't there for the experience, but he always remembers that. What's up, Rye Dog? Um, I was gonna say something to Rye Dog just now that is I shouldn't, so I'm not gonna say it. It was a loving thing I was gonna say. And Tammy says bad dreams. Price Production says Michael knows what's up on this stuff. Yes, he does. Ryan said I was staying at the house in the room with your dad and my mom, and the dresser drawer latches started shaking, and your dad spoke out and said, "Mama, if only Ryan, it's only Ryan," and it stopped. So my brother is saying that what he just said, that he was there with my dad, and my dad spoke to his mother. She, my grandmother who's passed away, so he believed it was my grandmother, you know,
Right.
there, and so our family's had crazy experiences. So let's talk about the name of Jesus Christ, because there are some people who may even be listening and watching and go, I don't want to hear none of that Jesus Christ stuff. But I have to say this. I don't care if you want to hear it or not. We're not here to preach to you, and that's not what it's about. But there is something proven time and time again. I can only tell you from my personal experience, Michael, maybe you too, and from millions of others. There is a power wrapped within that name, because we even know that Jesus Christ, he wasn't probably called Jesus then, he was called Yeshua or
Yeshua.
yeah. And but regardless, there is a power, because some of these forces know authority, as Price Production said. And the reality is that essence, that spirit, that Christ power does have authority in those moments. So I encourage you, that is a name. You don't have to believe in the name. You can watch that name dissolve a situation, whether you have belief or not, because some things, whether we believe in them or not, are still true. And that is one of those axioms that is true. That name contains power hidden, wrapped
Yeah.
within it, that does the work. What do you think, Michael?
Right.
And you
Uh,
don't have to agree with me, by the way.
yeah. Number one, no, I do agree with you. And you're right. Not everybody's gonna agree with that, but this is where I'll kind of default back to what I mentioned earlier about interactions that I've had, whether they're extraterrestrial communications, interdimensional, channeled information, cooperative channelings, regressions, whatever it is. There's a lot of them. And every single one of them, without exception, off world, other dimensional, they recognize the person that we call Jesus Christ,
That's it for
Christ Jesus,
sure.
Yeshua. They are aware of that being. They are aware of that uh, incarnated consciousness that was maybe not only sent to this planet, but that consciousness is known.
That
So
name is
that alone,
multi-dimensional. It transcends every dimension that exists. It really
it
does.
does. It
Yeah.
does, and it goes way up the ladder too. If you're talking about, everybody talks about, we're going to ascend to 5D. Well, we got to make it through 4 first. It's and 4 is where there's a lot of jokers in 4D. So we can't just jump right over into 5. Um, I mean, I digress, but that Christ consciousness is known throughout the 12 known dimensions or densities of what we know. So that alone, I mean, that's enough for me to know that there is something in that name, and really that inflection. And again, you don't have to believe. There is something that is switched on or triggered when you call upon a being of that power.
It's like a bat
Um,
signal, man. It's like throwing up the bat signal. It
it's
does.
true.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true. So I'm glad you brought that up, because a lot of people, like you said, they kind of shy away from the religious thing. But you have to remind people, Yeshua was not a religion.
He
It's a
wasn't
relation.
he wasn't a Christian.
No,
Buddha wasn't a Buddhist. Lao
no,
Tzu wasn't a Taoist. You know what I'm saying?
no.
And
I mean, it's and it's still going on today, unfortunately. The teachings that were given to them as this is your mission here on this planet. This is what your ministry is. That sounds religious too, but it
your
wasn't.
calling, your ministry, your calling, your
Yeah,
purpose.
I
These
mean,
are all
and
these are
and,
all the
and I'm
same.
fumbling. Yeah, and I'm fumbling over my words because it's so frustrating even to this day that what we see in the name of this and in the name of that, none of that is what it was intended. I mean, the main message, as you know, is this is what he could do, but we're gonna match that, and we're gonna be even better and more affected, not affected, more empowered by what is being shown by, we'll just say, Jesus, for
Yeah, yeah,
lack of argument.
yeah, no, that's
It,
fine.
it, it's that wasn't his message. We are of the light. We are capable of healing ourselves. We are capable of all that. And it's still unfortunate that people will think that, oh, don't worship the message. Just be like him, in the sense that you can never be like him. And how dare you say you can do what he does, or you're going to be better? And it's blasphemy. That was his
That
whole message.
yeah, and that's that. Anyone saying that hasn't actually learned what he said, what
No.
Yeshua said. He said, "You can do everything that I have done and more." And
Yep.
so
Yep.
it blows me away. Um, but on one, it blows me away that people have certain feelings and blah blah blah. And even right now, how I'm talking is kind of like, ooh, I want to be careful not to, uh, because I'll say this. Each one of us, me and my buddy Paul Quilter just exchanged some messages on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, this: each one of us is on our own individual spiritual unfoldment.
Yeah.
Each one of us is, on our own time frame for that enlightenment. Some
Yeah.
who are in church today, traditional churches that we, know of and talking of, are perfectly fine for you
Yep.
if you believe that, because that's where you need to be right now. But others have
Yep.
already gone that route, have
Yep.
already been there, done that, and they have moved on out of that for themselves. And that doesn't make them better or worse than anyone else. It just means they're on a different path of that unfoldment. And I think more people should be open minded to knowing what that is. And then something else, because you trigger in me by when you're saying things, you trigger in me to share with other people that the Bible, because I'm with a bunch of people. Look, the Bible was assembled, by a bunch of leaders, political and I won't even say
Right.
spiritual, but whatever. I can't judge them. But a bunch of leaders who decided which books that should be canonized, and that's why we know the Ethiopian Bible has other books that the Christian
Yeah.
Bible doesn't. But still, one thing that people miss because they're never told this, they're never taught this. The Bible has multiple layers to it. The literal that can contradict itself.
Yeah.
Then there's so you got the literal, then you got the mental, the ideas. What ideas are they trying to share with me in these messages? And then there's that metaphysical or spiritual, which is a whole nother level. When it came to me that everyone in the Bible was me at some different phase of my spiritual growth,
Mm.
that was mind blowing. I could have
Yes.
been Adam, all to Moses, to Christ being that high, and any one of the disciples, and then that Christ personality
Yeah.
to get that consciousness. So the Bible's got some deep stuff, but there's the Nag Hammadi ancient text, the Gnostic
Oh yeah.
text, that's got some great stuff in it. And I think when people do deep dives, they'll see, first of all, Jesus was a real person. And he was a real person who was here, and he taught amazing things, just like Buddha and just like Lao Tzu, and I can run down
Yeah.
Krishnas and Shivas and all that stuff.
Oh
So
yeah.
I don't know why I'm going off on a tangent. This is having you speak, brother. So
No, but you're right, and we could wrap that part up if you want, but you're right because it you know like you mentioned, as soon as in 325 A.D. King Constantine and the Council of Nicaea, man, they threw all kinds of things away because they didn't think common man would understand that. So they're like, oh, we're going to edit this, we're going to edit that, and it answers so many questions. People say, how come there's no amazing women in the Bible? Well, there was. The council
yeah,
took that out, and there's all different kind of books that came out afterwards. But it's been edited to death. I mean, the Dead Sea Scrolls. I immersed myself in that for a few years. That was amazing. It's talking about stuff that's happening right now. Um, without getting too deep, the Torah, that's a whole nother thing. 3,000-year-old text that everything that has happened in the world and will happen in the world apparently is in that 3,000-year-old text. Everything and everyone.
with the Bible code, you talking
Everybody,
about the Bible code?
everybody. Yep, Michael Drosnin. Yep. I mean, everybody who is listening to this podcast right now, including yourself, Dan, including myself, every one of your names appears in the Torah. A 3,000-year-old text, your name appears in that Torah. Um, it is. It's not. I don't think that's true. It's got to be phony, fake, and everything that's happened, every assassination that's happened, every president, everything that you could think of. Roswell, that's in the Torah.
Yeah, I think isn't
So
there? I think there's a program that you can
yep.
download. I remember years ago there's a program that was developed where I think that you can download this program and start running that Bible code, running scenarios or what have you. I didn't do it
I,
myself, but
I think so, and it's because what had happened is they were doing that by hand, and the methodology behind that is they're called skip codes. And skip codes, you kind of do, and it has to do with gematria. Now we're getting deep now, so we need to probably we steer this, or
yeah.
we'll be
Well,
here till
let's do
midnight.
this. Then let's move to a question because
Yes,
no
sir.
one signed up for going down some metaphysical Bible teachings and other stuff. But we will say that there is protection against any negative energy, and so we'll leave it with that, saying that
You
first and
bet.
foremost protection is you stand confident in yourself, saying that no one has power over you or your circumstances, and that you are divinely protected. So
Yeah.
remember that in the midst of any negative stuff, you can take your feelings and become the spiritual alchemist. Take those feelings and your words and your thoughts, unify them for the good, and dissolve all the negative. Let's move to a question that Price Productions has when you started talking about regression. When you say regression, are you using hypnosis? And if so, can you talk about the kind of untaboo it for some of us? I think that's what they're asking because some people probably have heard, hey, don't do hypnosis. And Price Productions, maybe you can clarify your question if I didn't get it right. But Michael?
Hmm. Um, to be honest, it was a very interesting experience. So first off, I was somebody who thought, there's no way that I can be hypnotized. Number one, like you can't hypnotize me. Um, you're not going to have me jumping around here like a chicken, you know, making sounds. And it wasn't anything like I thought. So the rundown of the regression was very much just like meditation, like the same kind of meditations that I do every single day. Um, you relax, you drop down into that state of relaxation, um, and it just the best way that I can describe the regression is the questioning was very normal. There was no type of I'll use a remote viewing term. There was no type of front loading information. There was no implanting things in there. Um, I went down layers, but I was always aware of where I was. I always knew that I was, laying on the couch, and at the time I was in San Diego. That's where Barbara was at the time. I heard, dogs barking at the distance. I was always there. So there is a very interesting way of a very well trained practitioner to drop you down into those levels of consciousness. But I would say I felt like it was like 5 levels deep of consciousness to where you can literally know where you're at in the moment. Then all of a sudden you're here, college, and you're in high school, and then you're 4 years old, and you're looking at yourself, but at the same time you're also the 4-year-old looking out. So it was a very trippy sensation. But I was always in the driver's seat, and it was almost like lucid dreaming to a point. But the things that I was recalling were things that actually happened. Now people always say, "Oh, well, if you don't remember it, how do you know that it actually happened?" It just things started to fit like the puzzle pieces. Like, okay, that's when I went there, and wow, that makes perfect sense. And when I had my experience that night, I specifically remember waking up in the morning, and my bedroom door was locked, so I knew nobody could come into my bedroom during that night. It wasn't the family dog. It wasn't my parents tucking me in. And I used to get in trouble for that too. Don't lock your bedroom door, Michael, when you go to bed, in case we need to get in. And I remember going into the kitchen the next morning to ask my mom if she was in the bedroom. And she was like, "No, not at all. Now, get ready for breakfast. Let's go." And those were all the little pieces I remembered, but all the things prior to like the question or the walking, it was all filled in during the regression. So I guess, long answer to a short question, there was no type of front loading questions, no kind of contaminating, dropping little ideas in my mind during the regression. So I would say it's very different from hypnotizing because you're always aware of what's going on. Uh, you're playing a big role in your own regression.
Yeah, and it makes
Yeah.
perfect sense. So what I'm hearing you say, and that we want to share with our listeners, is it's safe, and you don't lose control. You're not completely unconscious and unaware of what's happening. No one's taking advantage of you. This is, in fact, you need to participate for this, for you to
Right.
access those memories deep within your consciousness. And our just like today, people can wear meta glasses and record everything they see and hear. Our
Yep.
our consciousness is recording everything, even the little nuances that we're not paying attention to that are happening off in my room over here, my studio over here. All the things that are happening are being captured. But, this waking state consciousness is, hey, well, I'm only focused on this much. But to
You
me,
bet.
it makes complete sense that, with that, it's almost like a meditation, no? In a way that's helping meditate, and you're
Yeah.
tapping into your subconscious, if that's what we want to call it, or your
Well, and
super
that's,
conscious.
yep, you said it right there, Dan. That is the main thing, and that's, for me, that is where the deepest healing takes place. And that's something that I stress with my clients, is that when we are healing, the physical part is just a byproduct of the emotional, energetic part. So the main goal, if it is something like trauma, if it is abuse, if it's something that's carried through your entire life, healing, what equals healing is making the subconscious conscious. Because when it remains subconscious, it is still doing its thing. It's causing pain, suffering, damage. It's doing its thing. But when you make that subconscious conscious, and you shine that light on that subconscious issue, trauma, abuse, it's got nowhere to hide. So once it's exposed, that's when it begins to heal, because you're seeing it for what it is, rather than having that subconscious program playing in the background all the time.
Right.
We can't do anything for that. It's doing its job. It's doing its job. But that's to me, that's true healing, is making the subconscious conscious, and then anything else is possible after that.
Awesome. We've got a question from Ice Not. Ice Not, why in the heavens is your screen name Ice Not? Is it because you stay up so late? Anyway, it doesn't matter. We love you anyway, man. Um, but he has a question, and it's not related, but it's related. Do you practice remote viewing at all? That's Ice Not's question, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Do you practice remote viewing? If so, what is the practice that you use to get into that?
Yes, number one, I do. And I actually, there are individuals out there right now who are claiming to be these amazing remote viewers, and some are not. They're very well intentioned individuals. What some of them are doing is more so what I do, and that's by location. So if you are a true remote viewer, and there's some amazing ones, and I'll drop a name on a couple gentlemen who I trust implicitly with teaching you things. Future forecasters. If you go to YouTube, they got a nice page, and then there's another a website that you can get through that page. Future forecasters. They are true remote viewers. When I say true, they're not viewing a target that they already know. Um, I remember when that thing jumped off in Vegas, and the Miami, that mall in Miami, and they're like, oh, there's big 7 foot tall ETs walking around the mall, and whatever it was. People were saying, oh, I remote viewed that mall, and I remote viewed that spot. That's not how true remote viewing is done. So you don't know what you're viewing. It's all coordinates. There's no front loaded information like the actual spot. It's all done from coordinates, and you're just fed that. And when you come up with, well, I should say this: the gentleman on Future Forecasters, excuse me, two of those guys, they 48 hours prior to either one or both of those recent plane crashes, they remote viewed that almost 99%. They had no clue what that was. It was just kind of in the field, and they did their proper protocol. and they saw that. So
And was that
again, to
pre?
answer your question, I
Was that
yep,
pre-event?
yes,
Okay.
yeah. If the first one happened on Wednesday, I think they did that on Tuesday night, maybe Tuesday morning, and I think they posted that finally on the YouTube page or channel. So for me, I would say I have studied remote viewing. I've had a couple really good teachers. Courtney Brown is one of them. Courtney Brown's been around for years. He's amazing. Um, Trying to think of the other one that's eluding my brain right now. But it seems like what I do and do a little bit better is the bilocation. So I can travel to locations that I'm aware of where I'm traveling. And that goes hand in hand with the distance healings that I do for clients. So I can have a client in New York City. I can have a client in Italy. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter where they are. If they're in the same room with me, if it's across the planet, you jump into that place of no time, no space, and there's really nothing in between us at that point. So once I clue in on that client, then it's more of a buy location because I know where I'm going. That information has already been front loaded. The the target isn't tainted. So yeah, I learn a lot from remote viewing, but what I do is more by location.
Right on. Right on. I've done remote viewing, but I haven't practiced, one where, someone gives me something. Mine has mostly been through dreams or when I'm laying in bed and, it's kind of that just laying there and going to fall asleep and then
Right.
bam, I could, and then I'm seeing things. I call it also a form of time travel. I call it mental time travel or mind time travel. And man, many experiences, and then of course, the full-on dreams that have taken me to
Right.
places that I haven't been before. And it's not deja vu that when I'm there, I'm going, oh, deja vu. It's like, you know, being there and in the dream, and then later in life, something's coming up where I'm going to be there, not knowing I'm going there, but okay, oh yeah, and over here is where it's much like what my grandfather, used to do. Even with his treasure hunting stuff. So it's a trip. It's amazing. It's mysterious. It's wonderful. It's
Oh,
all those
absolutely.
cosmic, beautiful things that make life so interesting and magical, in my opinion, for us to have those experiences.
I
Um,
agree.
I want to take this time really quick to tell people to subscribe to, my Facebook, Michael's Facebook, follow us. Go to dandillman.com. You can send me an email there. Also, on my YouTube channel, please subscribe. Right now, if you're watching this stream, share it with your network. We want to grow this network. And the same with Michael. Michael, what is, throw off any of your pages or anything, just like a station identification, man. I want people to know where they can find you.
Yeah, I made it pretty easy. I think there's only one Michael FreeHawk out there, so pretty much all of my social media handles are one word, Michael FreeHawk. So Facebook, Instagram, Telegram, um, YouTube. I think it might be an older name, but I think you can even get to the YouTube page with that. There's only a smattering of videos there, but actually those videos that I have put on there, and I'm gonna expound on that YouTube channel a little bit more, or a lot of my daytime communications with craft. So a couple of those were in Castro Valley, all around the Bay Area. Might have Mount Shasta in there, but really good daytime footage. So go to that YouTube channel and see some of those craft and what I've experienced and what I do experience when I kind of get that knowing and I'm called outside to communicate, take pictures, videos, whatever. That'd be a good place to see that. So Michael Freehawk everywhere for the most part. You'll find me. I'm pretty accessible.
Right on, right on. Yeah, unfortunately,
Yes,
there are
sir.
thousands of Dans. And there's even multiple Dan Dillmans. And, and I tell people all the time when I run into them, they'll say, hey, what's your name? Mr. X. So a lot of people may even know me by Mr. X, because it's
Yes.
not, Dan can't be my real name when there's millions and billions of Dans. If they're Dan, how can I be Dan? So Mr. X, and that X is still just a placeholder, man, for that invisible cosmic name that must exist for my unique identity.
Oh yeah,
Um, so
it
so
does.
so that's where you guys find Michael FreeHawk everywhere by looking for that FreeHawk, for that Michael FreeHawk. I also want to say thank you to Paul Quilter and others who support me through YouTube. I've got this little team type thing where you can, donate, whatever you want to call it, sponsor, be on the team for like $1.99 on up. It helps to produce these shows, helps me do a bunch of stuff, makes me know that you guys like having amazing guests on here like Michael FreeHawk. Next week, um, I got Jeffrey Gonzalez. So if you guys know who Jeffrey Gonzalez is, from Bigfoots to conspiracies, all that stuff, he'll be on here next week. And I just want to tell you guys thank you. But yeah, please share this, and we'll try to get all our technical difficulties out of the way soon, man. But Michael, I want to move on, and
Sure.
and I don't want to lock us in. Oh well, shoot. Now we got a question. All right, another question. In your practice, do you think it is partly? I think if he means scalar, light energy. He's saying, do you think it's partly scalar light energy? It's not. Clarify that word for me. Maybe it's right. Maybe Michael knows what you're talking about.
It sounds like he's talking about scalar energy. I would say no, as far as what it is that I do. Scalar is more machinery, like 3D mechanical induced. Some of the scalar energies that are out there you can see in patterns in the clouds. Uh, Geoengineering tactics. You can see the telltale kind of scalloped waves. That's a scalar wave pulse usually. That's putting stuff out there. That's not what I'm doing. What I'm doing is more. What would I call it? I'm kind of jumping into holograms and certain codes where the Arcturian healing comes in. I schooled with a gentleman, Raphael. He's based in Brazil, and that was where the certification came in. I spent like 180 hours working with this guy online, and he and I we just went through a ton of stuff. He was very knowledgeable. He and I had a lot in common, and I kind of knew that he was my teacher at that time. And we talked about the same Arcturian codes. There's this goes into even crop formations. I'm a symbols guy, and one symbol can hold 1,000 words, and it hits that subconscious, and it downloads, and it affects and unlocks keys and codes and all sorts of things. There's actually a gentleman who I'm currently schooling with. He's one of my newest mentors. I'll name drop this too. You guys look into him as well. His name is Jerry, and it's Jerry Sargent, and he has a organization or a company called Star Magic, and I recently met up with him in Vegas, and he is probably one of the few people that I've met that goes inside and literally can start moving things around from energy to physical, to vertebrae, to muscles, to what have you. It's pretty amazing. So it's this jumping into that field, that energetic, no time, no space, and it's all consciousness, and that's really where a lot of this work. It can be exhausting. I mean, I admit it. But when you see individuals who can do this, you look at them, you don't see, there's no magical tools. It's not like, oh, he's a contractor, he's got the best tools and the sawzall, and that's why he's doing such great work. Or this artist has the best paints and the best acrylics and the best brushes and their horsetail hair. You look at these individuals and they don't have any of that. It's all here. And it takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of visualization. And that's what I've been really immersing myself in, is the power of the mind, basically, and turning that into manipulating matter, manipulating energy. But it's always done, and this is key, this is always done with the consent of the person that you're working with. If they don't consent, I don't care how good I am, it's not gonna have any effect. So if you have anybody that tells you, like, you don't have to believe in me and you don't have to do anything, just lay there and I'm the one who's going to heal you, no. That goes back to the darker stuff that we were talking about. That's not how it works. It's a co-creation. You must be given consent, and you work with that person, and that's the beauty of what I'm into right now, because I see that cohesiveness between myself and my clients, and it's an amazing thing. It probably brings me the most happiness that I have felt up to this point in my life, and that goes for every relationship that I've had, every any physical monetary thing. It's there's nothing like it. It's spiritual. It really is. It's up here. And I think, Dan, you were thinking that when I was just saying that. It's a universal love. It's a connection. It's something beyond. It's metaphysical. It's beyond physical.
For real.
It's amazing.
Because it's not about self, although the self is benefiting from helping others and coming together and exchanging. It may appear to be that you are, healing that person, but like you said, and rightfully so, no, in fact, it is your own consciousness doing the work, but it's that coming together and the effort and love that you are knowing about that individual, that you are standing in your spiritual truth about that person's ailments or whatnot, that enables you to tap into that energy and then for you guys to connect. So
Right.
it's
Right.
cosmic. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And if I could add to that, I get the question a lot about people who are not so keen on just my involvement in extraterrestrial stuff. And invariably that it comes up, religion comes up. Well, that's kind of blasphemy against God or Jesus or every extraterrestrial being. And of course, they only picture what a gray looks like from a Hollywood movie, not knowing that pretty much 90% of the cosmic family members that interact with this planet look just like you and I.
Right.
They're exactly like you and I. That's the largest percentage. So when they ask me about that, I invite them to see, like, look, the God that you're talking about and the God that I'm talking about has created abundant life throughout. Now, the life that I'm talking about tends to go a little bit further out than what you think. Like, they think around this planet, there's life throughout the cosmos. And it's, to me, it's blasphemy if you think that the God that you're talking about is only capable of life on this planet when there's millions, billions of planets. There's a lot more out there than you think. And there's a lot more out there that are identical to us, just simply on different evolutionary timelines,
Well,
thousands of years older.
right. And I want to jump in to
Yeah, go
say
ahead.
that something I like to put out there and distinguish, try to distinguish and to slice a little bit is that because we you use the word cosmos, I use the word cosmos. Most people don't know when I'm saying cosmos for me, and it doesn't mean it means it for you, and that's why I want to see where we are on this. Uh,
Mhm.
Cosmos to me is the God beyond God. It's the everything, and I even say there's probably multiple universes. Now, one universe is already for our human minds infinite and mind
Yeah.
blowing and expansive. But even if there are a multiverse, which I believe in a way there is, and we talk dimensions and or multiverses and blah blah blah. To me, when I say cosmos, I'm speaking of that God beyond God. That if this God is the God, and God is such a limiting word from our standard teachings, that this God is everything, and there is nothing that exists that is not within this God, because there's not even any other substance or existence outside of this God beyond God. And it's clearly not just this form, although,
Right.
we are one with the all that is. So
Yeah.
yeah, so cosmos for me, multiple universes, multiverse. I just put out a video recently, even about past lives and timeline jumping, which could be a whole another thing for us to talk about. Um, so anyway, I want to say that and see what your idea is, because yeah, I know when we use the word God, and it's just so limiting, and so many people's idea of God is limited, you know.
Right.
So
Right. I I totally agree with you. And there's definitely this is not the only universe. Uh, there's another one or another some, and yeah, it's infinite as far as I've seen, as far as I understand. Um, I believe there is more than one. I mean, there's the difference between believing and knowing. There's a lot of things that I know, but that right there is one that I believe. I believe from what I've seen and heard. There's this is the only, not only the universe here. It's out there. There's another one over there, and how that's connected, I'm not quite sure. If it's different densities, different octaves, different, like you said, timelines,
yeah,
but there is more than one for
yeah,
sure.
I think even some scientists, I don't know who they are even starting to theorize, well, you know what? The Big Bang was probably this universe springing from another universe. Is one of the theories
Right.
that I've even heard for them to somehow explain it, and they may have some math that does that. But it's
Well, and,
just
and it's funny, Dan, because they talk about the Big Bang and creating this universe. Since the Big Bang, there's been bangs just as big, if not bigger than that, numerous times since then. So does that mean that there's another universe birthed with every one of those bangs since the Big Bang? I believe that there is more universe, and it's yeah. They always go back to the Big Bang. That's kind of obsolete now. It's happened numerous times since then. So there's a lot out there.
right. Well, we
There's a
got
lot
Craig
out there.
Andy's back. What's up, Craig? Thanks for coming back. He said his battery died, but he's back. Um, Adria Sexton. What's up, Adria? Adria owns Adria's restaurant in Kanab, Utah. So if you guys were ever in the Four Corners area, you need to go check that sister out. She makes a mean margarita, because that's usually what I'll order. I'm a fake drinker, so I have a margarita every once in a while. Um, let's see. I want to see. Okay, do you use any of what you practice use for treasure or any other location finding? Ice Not, are you talking to me about using remote viewing for treasure hunting? I'll keep it simple so we don't get off track. The answer is yes. And I even do dowsing. And I even have a little crystal that I even do some crystal dowsing on maps. And one, I find a lot of joy in it, but I really enjoy it because I'm witnessing it working. So, you know, they are tools, just like a metal detector. These are tools that we can use, and they exist. And I think there was another question for Price from Price Productions. Nicholas Burnett, I do want to say this. He says glasses, purple, yellow, diamond. Does that mean anything to you, Michael? Glasses, purple, yellow,
Say that one
diamond.
more time.
Nicholas Burnett, he just put these 4 words. I think when we were talking about remote viewing earlier, I should have read it earlier. Let me pull this down here. He says glasses, purple, yellow, diamond. It doesn't have to mean nothing to you. It's just what he has said. And then he said, Dan and Mike for the win. So I just want to make sure Nicholas is getting his love because we appreciate
Thank
anybody
you.
who was hanging tight with us, listening and responding and asking questions.
Yes.
I got another question from Price. Do you feel like this tapping into the Akashic records in a way? Do you feel like I'm imagining the remote viewing and whatnot is like tapping into the Akashic records?
Yes, I would agree with that.
And I might have limited the
Akashic,
question by saying remote viewing, so don't that he might be asking that question overall with what you might be doing.
right? Well, Akashic records, and I know it's some people will say it's kind of the record, like a written record of everything in your life. And then it's someone also say it's the higher self. So really, what you are accessing when you're accessing the Akashic records is everything that you are remembering uh, in your designated life. So I'll say your contract, your see everything that we're doing right now. We're not learning anything new. Everything that we see is learning. Oh my gosh, I learned this thing today. Oh my gosh, I saw this. It was the most amazing thing. Every single one of those things is actually us remembering. So Akashic records are actually seen as accessing that which we already know, but we are now starting to uh, remember that. And it can be very helpful because obviously, if you are looking at things that have either yet to happen in this timeline, in this consciousness, then that could help you quite a bit in this life because then you're going to be ahead of the game. Sometimes it doesn't work like that though, because we have to go through this thing. That's why we're here, is to learn, to love, experience. Um, but just the fact that we have an Akashic records to begin with says that we've been here before. So
Yeah, and some attribute that to divine mind. It could be your divine soul self, divine mind, Akashic, like much what you're speaking of, to where
right.
they're pulling individual things really just for themselves in their life and past life. Then there's the other idea of Akashic records on that bigger scale that is really what I would call divine mind. That
Yep.
exists, all of this information, everything, everything exists in one
Yep.
big bubble, which is just a silly, simple explanation. And we're downloading that info
Yep.
as needed, consciously or unconsciously, which is cool. Craig
Right.
Andes is saying, I believe the cosmos started as a complex cell of a combination of all the elements we know of and more. It started with one living cell that was capable of dividing, and when it died and laid down its body as a foundation for its continuation, and the inert matter that consisted of its body is what we see all around us today, and its expansion rate of the universe is the life growing and laying its bodies down. I kind of got that from reading what Edwards L. believed that built the Coral Castle. So I may, not be reading it
Oh yeah.
100% properly there.
Edward Lead Scalding. Yeah. Coral
You know,
Castle.
yeah, I don't know. I've never looked to see what he believed, but I know that dude was amazing. Him tapping into a technology to enable him to be levitating and building and moving things. So he was clearly in the know of something special, accessing
Yes, he
that
was.
ancient technology, man, for building of the pyramids and
You
other
bet.
things. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Sound frequency, stone levitation. That's what he knew. Yeah.
right. Have you seen that, by the way? You mentioned the sound frequency and levitation. I remember decades ago, I think I saw a video, I could be wrong, of Buddhist monks, out in the Himalayas blowing horns, and they would blow them for so long and move rocks. I don't know if I read that or saw that.
Yeah.
And now, have you seen the latest where science with sound frequencies are building things? So they just came out with a little video of some scientist somewhere, and they're using sound waves in building structures. So they're having things, they're floating and they're piecing them together, not with their hands, but with the sound frequencies. So it's
There you go.
pretty amazing stuff that nothing new under the sun, but here we are tapping into it again.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, and as a sound practitioner as well, I mean that's right up my alley, and I know this is like you said, it's been around forever, and the suppression is real. They've suppressed a lot of things. I mean, sound healing, it's far in advance. I mean, Royal Rife machines still
you
exist.
pulled
They're
that right
not
out of my mind because
exactly.
I was thinking Rife right now, and then you said Rife.
Yeah.
Share with us right now. Go for it, man. Let's because I even want to shift gears into something else, but it's like Nicholas just said, good, higher minded conversation, gentlemen. Glad to be here. Well, we appreciate you, Nicholas. He
Yes,
has a
sir.
sonic slider tuning fork. It's amazing medicine. And he said 93 hertz. He thinks. So, talk to us, Michael, about some of the healing you do with sound, and once you break down, there you go. So break some of that down, man. Share with people your work with the sound frequency and healing, and kind of that whole area that you're working in.
Yeah. Well, it again, it's been around a long time. Um, Before I moved out of the Bay Area, I started a company with my then girlfriend. We started the business that's still there. So anybody in the Bay Area you want to go visit and have a session, uh, highly recommend it. It's called the Harmonic Egg, and it's a spaceship egg looking thing, about 7 feet, 11 feet, and it's all sound, vibration, frequency, sacred geometry, and the sound waves. There's specific hertz. Of course, most people are familiar with the 528s, the 432s. Um, there's a lot more to it than that, um, but it just it rebalances the body. And actually, I had a client yesterday, and we did a lot of sound stuff. And the way that I kind of explain it, it's in training the body with frequencies. Now our whole body is made up of different frequencies, um, different chakras, different frequencies coincide. It's in training and attuning the body to the frequencies that may be responsible for deficiencies in the body. So the best analogy that I like to use is, say, an acoustic guitar. If you strum an acoustic guitar and just lean it up against a wall, no particular chord, just strum it, and then you set another acoustic guitar right next to it, don't touch that one, just lean it up against the other one, and that second guitar begins to resonate at the same exact sound as the one that you strummed. That is a simple example of entrainment. So when we are doing sound healing, we are entraining the body to get back into um, not a perfect pitch, but just getting back in tune. And, unfortunately, we are in a world that gets us out of tune pretty much every single day, whether it's the traffic, whether it's our significant other, whether it's our kids, our pets, whatever it is, we get out of tune. And we have to, even though our body is very good at trying to self correct every second of the day, frequencies and bathing the body in certain frequencies tends to expedite that retuning. So I mean, without going through the history of it, Rife knew this. There's a lot of other individuals who were right there with him. Tesla, of course. Tesla said if you knew the significance and the magic of the numbers 369, you had the keys to the universe. He knew what he was talking about. That's what it was about. It was about geometries. It was about frequencies, and we are just. It's just the macro to the micro and the micro to the macrocosm. We are everything, and we are of the cosmos. We are of sound and frequency, and we are all of that. So there's no way we can get away from that. But using that, the body knows what to do with it. The body is akin to the frequencies, and it works. I'm probably wrong on this. I'll say 1,000% because I think it's just more than 100%. That frequency gets into the body, and the body receives that like 1,000%, whereas pharmaceuticals is just a very small percentage of that. So the body is not getting that. Plus, you're getting side effects and all sorts of things. But it takes in all of the frequencies. There's no loss in that. So I'll kind of just leave it at that. Frequency is everything. It is the medicine of the future, and I know the ones doing it have been saying that for about 5 decades now. But we're pretty much there. And of course, med beds always come into the conversation. There's going to be med beds, and it's ET technology or it's not ET technology. But are the common man going to be able to have the med beds, or is it going to be specialized for people with billions of dollars? That remains to be seen. But until then, we have access to frequencies, and it's just learning which frequencies are effective. And that's my answer. I think it's amazing. Yeah. There's no limit to what frequencies can do to the human body.
I just saw a video today or yesterday where apparently they filmed somehow the frequency, or I even call it cymatics because it was just like cymatics, when you're running sound and frequency and you put sand on the plate and it vibrates.
Making sound visible.
Making sound visible. I just saw when a sperm fertilizes the egg, and dude, look this up. I encourage people to look it up. So they just filmed it somehow, and it was amazing geometric shapes, like, if I'm not mistaken, like little, like multiple spirals, slash waves, slash cymatic sacred geometry. It was awesome. And so, right, they're capturing, that stuff. And so they don't know, is this when consciousness, and consciousness is entered? I'll say entered because, that's kind of my thought about it, is we come
down, oh yeah,
whatever. Or really, there's no coming down, because what is up, down, left, or right in existence? But yeah, amazing. And so the sound stuff that you do and the healing that is used with it, even with those tuning forks and everything, hitting those frequencies. And wasn't it Tesla who I think did an experiment on a bridge where he, matched the frequency, I think, of the bridge of the, and I'm pretty sure it was Tesla. It could have been someone else, where he matched, and then the whole thing was about to just come down because he matched that frequency. And
yeah, because then it affects it at a molecular atomic level. It matches that, just like Ella Fitzgerald back in the day with the crystal glasses. She'd hit the high note and it would shatter. Right. She was matching the resonant frequency of that crystal, and then that's what you get. So the Ella Fitzgerald example, shattering that crystal, once she matches that resonant frequency, is the same exact identical cancer treatments that we have now, that they're going to go in like sonically. They're going to hit it at, like, I can't remember how many thousands of hertz it was, and that disintegrates all of the cancerous cells, and it leaves all the healthy ones untouched. Because once you find that resonant frequency of that cancer cell, you're done.
Right.
It doesn't affect the other one because the other healthy ones are not at that resonant frequency.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's what we've been doing for years now. And it just seems like, when they get to that point, and I'm sure there's a few things we can't say on here just to make sure you don't get taken away. That is the same technology that can benefit numerous things on this planet. But those are the things that are pushed to the side, and you go, nah, we're not gonna let that out of the bag just yet. You got to find a way to monetize that. Got to find a way to get paid for that. I mean,
Sad, man.
it's been going on a long time. It's an old game, and it's but that's the new world that we're trying to build, and it's was that Buckminster Fuller who said that years ago. It's not fighting against the old system. It's creating a new one to the point where you're making the old one obsolete.
Yep.
That's where we're at, and
I
that's what we are being asked to do. Because fighting that fight it's not going to get you anywhere. It's going to mutually assured destruction if you're just going to match that violence with that. It's just creating that new model, and the other one just goes away. So conversations like this community that we're building with these kind of conversations, that's really what we're doing. We are creating a new world. It's not the new world order. It's a new world, but we are at that point. And I know a lot of people talk about Agenda 2030. There's a lot of things that are happening. At least they're on the list of things to happen by 2030. That's going to change the trajectory of where we go as a species. We've only got a couple years to change that trajectory. Even if it's by one little degree, it'll make all the difference in the world.
Yeah, and we're clearly at that transition right now. Cosmically, I've said it before. People will hear me say it multiple times. We're moving from Pisces into Aquarius. We are at this cycle of 26,000 years. We're at that place where the 3,600 years of where some spoke about when the Anunnaki were here last, or those who came from the stars. So many things are lining up. Plus, everything that we're witnessing as a society, not just here in America but globally, is clearly a bubbling, a filtering, a rising to the top, like boiling, and when the steam happening. I'm giving all these analogies of this transition that we're clearly in, and I have to believe that it's towards the golden age. So I laugh in a good way when I hear Trump or someone on TV, because I never hear politicians talk about the golden age. And who knows if he's speaking about the same thing we're talking about. But it's in the vocabulary. It's in the psyche. And and we have this opportunity that is right here for us. And if enough of us, pretty much, and I think I'm saying what you're saying, if enough of us are ready to step into this new cycle, right? Because everything is cyclical, and we've had the golden age before. Let's have it again. But there's got to be enough of us willing to do that, to have a little extra grace, a little extra love, and a little extra will to be there. And so I think somehow they're going to figure it out, right? Like, I couldn't tell you today, how can we have the regeneration of teeth? Because I saw also with frequency and sound recently where some Japanese scientists put a little horseshoe style thing and were shooting frequency and regrowing teeth. And so you're here talking about annihilating a cell, cancer or whatever, and matching that frequency and dissolving it. All these things are make sense. It's not even like fantasy land. Not only does it make sense, it's being scientifically proven by those who have scientific methods that most people want to see and hear, and it's also being repeatable and reproducible from those ways. So we're here, man. We're here, and we need just enough of you to be in that consciousness of uplifting and and grace. I say grace because I don't even think you need to go out and hand your neighbor, some free this or free that. Not that you can't help people. I think it's more of that within of knowing like, look, there's a holding within ourselves. There's enough for everybody. There's enough air. There's enough water. There's enough land. There's enough food. There's
Yep.
enough for everyone. And I want my neighbors, meaning those that I know and don't know, not just the next door neighbors, but people
Hmm.
I don't know, but who I want everyone to be prosperous and have all that they want, while hopefully them holding within themselves that they also want their neighbors to have. Hey, whether that be the best cars, the best clothes, the best food, the best school, the best partner, just the best for everyone. And I think if more of us hold
Right.
on to that,
Right.
because we've
And
been given, yeah, sorry, stop
no,
me,
go
man,
ahead.
because
Finish. Finish.
I start to ramble and talk too much. So
No, it's good because the as you talk, it's filtering in, and it kind of reminded me to just bring up the fact that, see, you're mentioning, excuse me, you're mentioning all of the things, I mean, that we deserve, and our birthright. The clean water, the clean air, the clean food. But as you know, and this is a whole nother show,
no, I want to
and we could,
include some. I want to. It's on some of my questions for you.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, and
so
we can tail it and just
we'll,
go right this way,
yeah, and we can come back, and we can come back.
and we can come back. Is that there is a concerted effort to take away that. And I've been hearing this word a lot lately, and it's couldn't be more accurate. Is our divinity. And Greg Braden, recently, I listened to him on something. He was talking about divinity, just us as divine beings, our right to reach our fullest expression as human beings. That's our divine right. That's our divinity. We are divine beings. But there is a concerted effort on this planet. It's been here, but it's really ramping up right now because it ties into everything that you're mentioning. The Piscean age into the Aquarian age. There's different cosmic things going on. This is unlike any time in human history. It may be similar, same types of things. The main difference is we're here. I don't know if there's been 8+ billion people on the planet when this occurs, but here we are. There's a concerted effort to terraform this planet in every way, shape, and form. Our food, our air, our weather. Um, talking about the human body is flawed. Um, the transhumanism movement, the bioengineered food. We eat that food. That bioengineered food changes us.
For sure.
So we are trying, well, they, someone is trying to change us at our very humanness level, our human level. This planet, they're playing with the weather. That is, by every definition, is terraforming. You look at the carbon numbers, you look at everything that they are trying to implement, and I say they, and let our
Yeah,
listeners
and who
fill
are
in the
they?
fill in the gaps.
Who's they? No,
We'll let the
you don't have to
listeners
answer
fill in
that,
the
by
gaps.
the way. Yeah, don't answer that.
Yeah, and there is a concerted effort, and there's that's not a belief of mine or a belief of somebody else's. That's fact. And you just you look at the carbon situation, where they want the carbon to be on this planet in a couple years, maybe a few years, before 2030. There's that year again. They want those numbers to be down to the point where I believe they were at in the um, Pleistocene era. Now, that wasn't a good time. that wasn't a good time for humans and thriving. The Pleistocene era. It was not good weather. It was not good soil. There was dinosaurs. There was extinctions. There was all sorts of things. Um, they want it to be at like if I'm not mistaken, if anybody out there is doing the homework, uh, you'll know that I'm either right or I'm off on this one. We'll just say they want the carbon to be to like 180 or something like that. We're at like 210 right now, I believe. But they want it to be, say, at 180, give or take. I don't have my notes in front of me. This is a no-note evening.
No, it's all good, man.
And, I mean, we are straddling that Pleistocene era right now. That's not good for human beings. That's not good for the fauna and the flora. That's not good for life in general. So you have to ask yourself, if all of these modifications to our food, to our air, to our water, to our climate, if it's not good for human beings,
who's it good for?
Who's it good for?
Right.
So there is, and I'll leave that part right there. There is a concerted effort to change everything about this planet right now. And
it doesn't make sense. You know what
and
doesn't
it
make
doesn't nope, it doesn't make sense at all. And that's the thing. You can't argue that these are the numbers that they want because they're telling us that's what they want.
Yeah.
But then when you say, well, excuse me, sir, that's not really good for human beings, and they go, well, that whatever. Next question.
Yeah.
They'll go right over it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it makes you think crazy things. It's like, okay, so do they already have a planet that they're terraforming there because this one's going to be used for something else? You have to ask these questions because this is what's happening. And that 2030 keeps coming up. That was kind of told years ago, but that's a whole other thing. So this has been in the works for a very long time. So for our listeners out there, if you haven't already, look into that and see that what I'm talking about. These things it's moving very quickly, and that's where they want it to go. But I always remind people when we're talking about community, we're talking about positive change, we're talking about frequencies and healings and things like that. These long-term goals of theirs, they don't have to reach their fullest expression.
Right.
Okay. The fear is they're going to make you think, oh, that's it, we have no choice. And that's not true. Again, we are powerful divine beings. They want us to be into this transhumanistic movement. Even was it Ray Kurzweil? I think he's still part of Google. Ray Kurzweil is a Google. I can't remember what he does for Google, but he's a futurist, and he said himself he doesn't care about the ramifications. He's just telling you what the future is going to be. And he said by 2030, 2035, you will not be able to find somebody on the street that is pure human. We're going to be some type of transhumanistic cyborg, a hybrid of some kind, whether it's the chips in the brain, the chips in the wrist for your debit card, which is already happening, and things that are happening at birth that we're implanting. Like I think they've already given the okay recently about putting chips in newborn babies. Okay, so this is not going to happen. These things are already happening. And futurists and people who work for Google, like Kurzweil, he's already telling people, no, this is how it is. Well, it doesn't have to be that way. We have to fight for our humanness. And
it goes against common sense, Michael. I want to jump in because I want to,
yes,
first
it
of all, I
does.
want to read what some people are saying. I missed a few things earlier, so forgive me, guys. But I want to stick with what we're talking about now. Nicholas says, I'm with you, Dan. America is the new Atlantis. Price Production says, it's the great Western Empire Plato talked about. Oh, here we go. Nicholas, real men are in touch with their heart. It's beautiful to see, gentlemen. And then some of the things you were just saying, Price Production said, I 100% agree with that. I want to say that it goes beyond common sense because I'm a common sense, simple guy. Yes, I don't claim to be the most intelligent incarnation of myself right now when it comes to mathematics and astronomy and quantum physics in the sense of writing them out and doing them. But common sense to me is one of the most wonderful powers that everybody has, innate common sense. And all of these things that are being engineered are just make no sense. I trust the universe or the cosmos and Mother Earth to continue doing what she does, that she has done for us to get here to be able to. And when I say us, I don't mean you and me in particular, but the human species.
Mm-hmm.
When the human species or those who are in charge right now with these decisions think that they know better than Mother Earth, that doesn't even make sense to me. Mother Earth has set everything up for us to have the opportunity to even be here and talk, whether we made these computers and cameras and sound and formed all these things from the substance that existed to the sun shining to the earth giving food. Mother Earth, Father Good, whatever we want to call it, is smarter than us, and we are inside of it, and it has already provided. What
Yep.
makes anybody think that they are smarter than that which brought them forth into existence, or that they are, sitting in the palm of this Mother Earth? And hopefully, I'm making sense because I got a lot of things happening in the mind that may not be coming out of the mouth correctly. But
No,
it
and
blows.
well,
Yeah.
you are, you are, and you're touching upon, Dan. You are touching upon the exact premise of transhumanism, because transhumanism, the premise of that is that as a human species, we are flawed. Our emotions get in the way. Our emotions get in the way of making good decisions, or yelling, or anger, or just not acting because we're in fear. Our emotions are bad. There's a system out right now, and it's in schools, it's in colleges, whatever. It's everywhere, being taught that as humans we are flawed, and because of those flaws, transhumanism can fix us. So it started with the computer games. It started with those things first. Then it started with the wearables, the little Fitbits. And I know tons of people who have Fitbits and just those types of things, which I must say those interfere drastically with our biofield.
Even our iPhones and iWatches,
It's a whole nother.
yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
it's a whole nother thing. So that is what they're pushing. And when I was listening to interview recently with Greg Braden, I love the way that he described it. He said the marketing with transhumanism is done so slick, it's so sexy, I think is what he said. So sexy that people see it and they go, "Oh my god, I got to have that. Oh yeah, I got to have the chips in my brain. Oh, I got to put this in here, and I have 15 microchips in my body and I've never felt so free." It's like, no, no, it's the very opposite. You don't understand what's happening here. As soon as those chips and everything else, all the transhumanistic toys, those kick in, we begin to atrophy. The scariest part about all this is also one of the most amazing aspects of the human body, is that we can adapt to change. We are, as you said earlier, we are like nature. It's not the greatest, the biggest, and the strongest. It's the ones who have the ability to adapt are the ones that survive the longest. That's nature. That's the perfect model on how to survive, is you adapt. Well, the problem with that in this transhumanistic case is that once our human body adapts to the transhumanism stuff, it's not going to go back. We're going to lose that. It's the case of the use it or lose it thing. So then the body is not going to be able to go back, which is very interesting because when we talk about the old stories, I mean, this is 20, 30 years ago, of the Greys, the ET hybrid program that we hear so often about. They were trying to hybridize with human beings to get back the emotions that they bred out. They chose technology over their emotions. That was the story of the Greys. So now the Greys are doing the hybridization program to get back. And that's taken, what, hundreds of years, thousands? I'm not sure. That goes back to that whole agenda. Why would the Greys start to abduct people and start taking eggs from females and sperm from males? And like, what are they trying to do? Well, obviously, we figured out what they're trying to do. They're trying to breed back what they gave away. We are at the same place in our evolution. We are starting to give it away. We are starting to give away our humanness.
Yeah.
And we have to stop and think before we do that. But the problem is we're not being given that choice of, hey, let's take a vote. It's like fluoride in the water. Somebody thought, oh, it's a good idea for me, so let's fluoridate the entire water system of the whole world.
Yeah, crazy.
Nobody voted on that. Just like nobody voted on these people who are making these laws and passing these bills. Nobody voted these people into position.
Yeah.
So this is where we find ourselves now. And this is where that 2030 year keeps coming up. We are being pushed up against the wall to literally fight for our humanness in every way, shape, or form. Before we give it away, let's really look at what we have. Like, look at the amazing things that we can do. Every computer, every cell phone, every machine that is on this planet has been mirrored and made in our image. Every piece of everything is mimicking us. And people aren't thinking about that. We can do everything. We're faster than computers. Yeah, these microchips and these super chips and super everything, they're fast. But they are only capable of moving as fast as the structure it's made out of, the silicon, the molecular structure, the molecules, the atoms. It can only go that far. To make it faster, you have to introduce something more to hold more stuff and make it faster. Our bodies actually adapt and continue to build, go faster and faster and faster. We have capabilities that our computers don't. But because we're not working with that, and people are working with computers, like, oh, computers blow human beings away by 1,000,000 times. It's not true. It's not true. So that is the part of this whole conversation that's the most important, is that everything that we're talking about is to preserve who we are, to see what's coming down the tracks, because it's coming fast and it's picking up speed. Yeah. And when I say we only have a few years to prepare and change that trajectory a little bit, I firmly believe that. And if our cosmic family can lend us a little hand here, I know there's going to be they can't what is it called again, the prime directive.
Yeah.
Like on Star Trek, they can't give us all the answers. They can assist us, just like the archangels can assist us, ascended masters, Yeshua, they can assist us. We got to do the work ourselves, though.
But yeah, we still have choices to make. Yeah.
They can lead us there. We have to do that work. We are being asked to do that work right now. Enough talking. It's time to be and just to do. It's not going to run the Gandhi saying into the ground. Be the change you wish to see. That used to be a great saying years ago. Now it's run into the ground. Again, that's just a saying. Are you doing it?
Yeah, and I like to say, you are your world. You are
Yeah.
your world. It is your
Yep.
kingdom of thoughts that make your world. And I'm,
Yep.
you know, someone mentioned Atlantis earlier, and yeah, we are the new Atlantis. But are
Mhm.
we going to learn from the previous version of Atlantis
Right.
or not? And just like all these other rises and falls of civilizations, it is my opinion and my belief that when we and not again, not you,
Hmm.
me, some of you listening, but others who are consciously allowing, staying in the lane of this other wave of thought, of psychic energies, you are helping it to continue, and the cosmic
Hmm.
order of things is going to set things straight. So even
Right.
in the midst of all of this stuff, that can sound like, some of it can sound like some doom and gloom could be upon us. um, the reality is that at least I'm convinced, my reality is that we have an active part. You said it earlier, we are co-creators in this experience with each other. The
Yeah.
more of us that are in line with saying, look, I want to trust nature. I want to trust what's gotten us here to this point. The intelligence universal within us, the earth, the stars, the moon, everything that exists, there's an intelligence
Yep.
working that has got everything in order. And it doesn't mean that we don't go plow, our fields, the fields of our minds and the fields of our backyards. But it
Yep.
does mean, where are we in our state of mind in regards to everything that's happening. Like me personally, I'm cool with my technology. Am I going to
Right.
want to implant it in my mind to give me GPT up in my mind? Nah, I'm cool with it
Right.
being on my phone if I need it. You know what I mean? I'm
Right.
cool with it taking it, going there. But you are right. There is nothing more intelligent than the human and the human mind and this cosmic intelligence that is dwelling in us and around us. So
Right.
I personally don't subscribe to, because I don't believe this is, as you either, because, we're talking at so many different levels here in this conversation,
Yep.
physical realm, the shit's hitting the fan. I shouldn't even speak like that on this. I shouldn't say that word. The crap's hitting the fan.
Yeah.
To everything is fine and wonderful. Different
It's
levels
true.
of being in this moment. So I just feel that with all of what you said being true at a certain level, on a physical level, on current movement of technology and this transhumanism and whatnot, um, we are spiritual beings, and it does not have to be that way for us.
Mm-mm.
Though 1,000 fall at my left, 10,000 at my right, or vice versa, me and my home shall remain untouched. And so, it's just kind of the standing in my own power, my own awareness. But it does blow my
Right.
mind that so many
It
people
does.
put so much trust in this is why this
External stuff.
external stuff. Even though, because even when I say putting so much faith in science and in math and all that, don't get me wrong, those are all wonderful tools and things that we've tapped into.
Yep.
But really sitting back and relaxing, basically, I guess what I'm trying to get at, and it just came to me, us stop trying to control. It's the same thing you said about fighting. Two people fighting, we're going to
Yeah.
clash. These energies come together. We're trying to control this guy that's trying to control. It's never going to work out. But
Right.
really, sitting there going, no, no, everything is fine in my world, and I haven't
Right.
been in those pressures.
Right.
I think that that's the magic that helps to dispel some of that stuff. Now I'm falling down into 2D 3D when I say this. Let's talk really quick about bioengineering. I've been putting some posts out
Hmm.
there about our
Yes.
food, and we've already talked about it a little bit, but because I think it's important that people know, and this is what I found out, that I had noticed after I turned 50, right? First of all, I never believed it. Really, for me, I guess it was after, yeah, 50, 51, whatever. After I hit a certain age, um, I used to always hear everyone say, "Oh man, I hit 50 and now I can't move. I'm hurting this," and I would say, "How could going around the sun an extra time cause me to have aches and pains just because I had a birthday?" So I don't believe it. But the wife and I had noticed that, like, oh man, I'm getting up out of this couch, and you know what? It doesn't seem as easy no more. It can't be that I just had a birthday. All that turning 50 stuff is baloney. But we were having that. And so from this lower level, our physical body that is our vessel that we're walking around with, I found out, and you already know this, you've been on this a long time, that the food we're eating, not only if we're eating the processed foods that they're putting all this crap in, chemicals that in California, I just found out today, my brother, he's a contractor and painter and does stuff. I guess there's a certain chemical he used to be able to get that got rid of paint. I don't know the one it's called. He does. And he can't even buy that chemical anymore, but it was in a box of cereal he just bought. So he's like, I can't even buy this chemical for my job to make it easier, but the chemicals in the cereal that they want me to eat. So my point being, and for those
It's
who are
probably
listening,
lead.
no, it was some other. Well, maybe but some technical name, but
Yep.
whatever it was, um, you know, all of this I'm seeing bioengineered on so many things that
Yep.
it's important to pay attention for that organic. But then there's some other detail you were sharing. So with that long-winded little intro, I found out that the soil doesn't have the nutrients that even the vegetables and food that is grown. Farmers have to pour nutrients in, which I never knew. I always knew about greenhouse and people growing stuff in a greenhouse or a hydroponic, and they would have to
Yeah.
put chemicals in it because it doesn't have the earth soils that have the chemical or have the
Hmm.
elements and nutrients in it. And
Yep.
apparently the soil doesn't even have the nutrients. The farmers aren't putting in all the nutrients, and so our food, even if it's organic, can lack nutrients, I imagine. And
Yeah.
then all of these chemicals and bioengineering. What the heavens do you have to say about that? And I don't care how you respond at what level about anything that just flew out of my mouth. I'm a horrible host, but I'm a great host too because I got nothing written down to follow, and it whoop. So
You're passionate.
there you go. That is one thing I am. So
That's it.
so break down some knowledge, share with me some of what you know, and then of what's happening and how can somebody counteract those things. What can they eat and take to change that?
Hmm. Great question. Great topic. First, everything that I saw you post recently, it says bioengineered. It was only a couple years ago where legally they got the okay to change genetically modified food, genetically modified ingredients to bioengineered because the genetically modified was scaring too many people away. So they changed the name, just like they changed Monsanto to Bayer, um, because it was getting too too scary for people. It's like, well, there's a good
Everyone was
reason.
everyone was in the
There's a,
know with that name, basically.
there's a good reason why. Yeah, Monsanto. It's the same thing. It's been going on a long time. Um, I had the opportunity to work with Jeffrey Smith. Jeffrey Smith was the gentleman who was really on the front lines for a few years, especially back in California. I was a part of trying to pass Prop 37 to get foods labeled, genetically modified foods labeled. So that was probably 2012, 2014. And spending the time with Jeffrey Smith, a gentleman named John Robbins, during that campaign, I mean, my whole world was turned upside down where it came to food. It was unbelievable. If you haven't watched the documentary that he made, it's back then. It's probably 9, 10 years ago now. Genetic Roulette. He's got a beautiful book, big hardcover book by the same name, Genetic Roulette, and it shows all of the science, all of the studies. He talks about the lies basically that came up with uh, the Indian farmers in India, where they were told they had to buy genetically modified seeds, or else they'd be put out of business. So all of these farmers around the world had to, by force, purchase Monsanto seeds. Those seeds don't propagate, so all of a sudden the ancient practice of seed saving was no longer an option. You had to buy from your dealer, your seed dealer, and those seeds didn't germinate a second time. So there's no seed saving. So once that happened, then you had to buy the poison, as you said, to spray your crops with, and then they started to put the Bt toxin inside of the crops, like corn. And as you know, most of the corn out there it's all GMO. It's been that way for many years now. Soy, it's all GMO'd. And instead of spraying the toxin, they said, "Oh, we're just going to put it right inside." So the farmers can save money on dousing it with their poison, and they go, "Oh, we're saving money." Well, they're putting it right inside of the food now, and that was the Bt toxin, which is short for Bacillus thuringiensis. That is the component that explodes the stomachs of insects. So all the crops are, free of insects. Well, hello, farming and agriculture needs insects. That's a part of the biodiversity.
Common sense.
So, I mean, there's the common sense. So the question always came up. Well, okay, so the bugs' stomachs are exploding from this Bt toxin that you're putting right into the genome of the corn and the soy now. But we're eating the corn and the soy. So what does that do to us? And they go, "Oh, no. We're much more hardier than an insect. So it doesn't affect us at all." Well, they went through 2 and 3 generations of the rat tests in the labs with the Bt toxin and everything else that GMOs were about. They never got to finish the studies because all the rats died during the studies. By the time, if they made it to 2nd generation, all of those babies were all sterilized, so they could no longer propagate.
That's crazy.
So that is just the microcosm of the macrocosm of what the intention of putting that in the human food supply was about.
And these people aren't dumb. They're not dumb. They ran the test. So
Yep.
I hate to say this because I've heard someone else say this. They're either stupid or they're doing it on purpose. And that's so sad.
There's only a couple options.
Yeah.
Yep.
It makes
only a couple
no sense at all. And I would even argue, Michael, that insects are maybe tougher than us if you scaled them to our size. That they very well could be
They
more.
might be. I mean, a flea could jump to if it was a person, we could jump to the top of the Empire State Building. That's what a flea can do.
Right. So it's bananas. So what's your recommendation? Because, without doom and gloom, I try not to have too much of it, but what's your recommendation? What can people do to actively be aware and participate in eating healthier? What should they be looking for when they're grabbing their food? And then we have a bunch of comments and questions. My thing stopped scrolling. I was even wondering, I go, man, ain't no one saying nothing. And in fact, it was a problem on my end that it wasn't scrolling. So there's my question. What can people do to make a conscious effort to pay attention to what they're buying and what they're eating to at least counteract, or to eat healthy?
Right. Great question. I'm biased because my day job of many years now, I'm a manager of organic produce. So I deal with a lot of small organic family farms between California and Arizona and further. and I can handpick what comes into my place of business. But really, the first thing is, eat organic as much as possible. Usually, when I say that, people go, "Oh, well, yeah, but I heard about things about organics, and it's not they can still spray some things if it's coming over the border. They're going to try to spray it with this thing and that thing." It's the best system, and this is my answer. It's the best system that we have right now is buying organic as much as possible. I've been about 80% organic for the past 10, 12 years. And that takes some doing. But in my line of work, in my day job, um, I have an advantage because I'm around the organic stuff all day long. It's a part of my job.
Right.
But the 20%, if you go out to eat, it's difficult. If you're traveling, geez, it's difficult. You
And you
make the
don't know.
best decision. No, no, no. You have to ask a lot of questions. You make the best choices you can in the moment. Feel free to fast. I mean, if you feel like everything you eat is just poison, then fast for a day and drink water for the day. Clean your system out. But eating organic is the first thing. The second option is eat something that is non-GMO if it's not organic. There's a downside to that too, but it's better than just regular conventional poison. People get confused about organic and non-GMO. It's very important to buy products that are double certified like that. Make sure it's organic and non-GMO. To some, it may sound redundant because organic is, by definition, it is already non-GMO. So if you want non-GMO in every way, shape, and form, organic is non-GMO.
So that's the late.
But
That's oh,
yep, that's the gold standard basically. But if you buy non-GMO, but it's not certified organic, that simply means non-GMO that the genome of the non-GMO project verified has done its job in making sure that the genome of what you're eating is clean, meaning no genetically modified seeds or anything were used in the propagation of that food. It doesn't mean it's organic, which also means it probably doesn't mean that it's not clean and clear of pesticides. So that's the importance of, say, you buy a bag of almonds and it says organic and non GMO, then you're safe.
okay.
You've got your double certs right there. It's not one or the other. But again, if it just says organic, it's non-GMO too. It's a little confusing, but people say, well, if it's already organic, why do they put the non-GMO label on there too? It's a little redundant. In this day and age, people want to make sure. People take pride in putting the organic seal and the non-GMO symbol on there. They pay a lot of money for that too. So it's just taking the guesswork out of it for the consumer. Um, but just know that that is the best way.
All
Of
right.
course, if that's not possible, growing your own food, organic seeds always. There's some good seed companies out there that are still doing the Seed Saver company. But if you're buying seeds and it doesn't say organic on it, you're almost guaranteed they're either genetically modified seeds or they have like is it neonicotinoids? That is the poison that they use on seeds that kill off bees when they try to pollinate something. That's insane right there too.
That kind of stuff
So it's
it pisses me off. I don't really get mad, but I use the word. It pisses me off
yep, yep.
because those bees are so important to us. I want to read a few
Vote
comments. Oh,
vote with your dollar.
yeah. Um, Craig Andy says everyone needs to wake up and smell the non-genetically modified roses. Unbelievable the crap they put in the people's food these days. People should be held accountable. I agree. I'm hoping RFK. I don't know much about him except for what I've seen recently. And I've heard some crazy stories about him, but the one thing that seems cool to me coming out of his mouth and what apparently other people back him up with is that he does care about getting these chemicals and cleaning our food system from. So, the jury's still out if that's going to happen, but
Right.
I'm excited to know that there's even talk about that and that this guy could be leading the charge on that. So whether you like him, his personality, or blah blah blah, if the mission, if he follows through on what he's talking about, that would be pretty awesome, and it can only improve the situation.
Isn't it
Um,
funny how much pushback you can get when you talk about wanting to make the citizens of the United States healthy?
it's
The
ridiculous,
pushback,
man. It's
the
ridiculous.
ridicule.
Yeah. Well,
Yet 4 or 5 years ago, they were trying to tell everybody in this country that they needed to do something
yeah.
with themselves to be in good standing with everybody else.
Right.
Like they didn't have a problem telling everybody what to do then, but now it's a problem wanting to make everybody healthier.
Right.
Interesting.
I want to make sure I did miss a few questions that were on other subjects that we'll come back to. I Snot had a few, and then he said he came back. Nicholas Burnett says organics for the most things. Avocados are okay. We need an organic co-op nationwide. I Snot says. Craig Andy says RFK 100%. One of the most disgusting things going on is the 151 unregulated with no oversight, whether companies operating in America dumping God knows what in our atmosphere for sure. That's another one. That's a whole other subject. Chemtrails or just chemicals that are being dumped in our atmosphere, whether it be from chemical plants or on
Yeah.
purpose for
Well,
certain
see,
things going on.
there's that terraforming that we were talking about earlier.
Right, right.
Every aspect of our environment is being changed, and I think it's safe to say being changed knowingly.
Yeah. Nutrients. Remember, I kind of touched on the fact that I found out that our soil doesn't necessarily even have all the nutrients that we normally need. So the wife and I bought some organic. I believe they're organic. I know for sure non-GMO, and I believe organic. Started getting like a fruit and veggie, and then some trace minerals, some copper, some
Mm-hmm.
colloidal silver,
Yep.
and some iron. And we started taking this not every single day because I'm not a guy that overdoes it. Even if it says take 4 of these a day, I'm like, well, you know what? I'm gonna take two.
Yep.
And you say every day, you know what? I'm gonna take it 3 times a day, and
Yep.
and just start building up. But those trace minerals that we've been taking made a tremendous difference
Mm-hmm. Yep.
in that Tin Man stuff I
Yep.
was telling you about, getting off the couch and doing things. I mean, it was
Yeah.
really a game changer. I imagine, and we're starting to pay attention more. That's why, I'm sharing things that are funny. They're funny to me. I'm in the store and I'm grabbing stuff. Oh, like SpaghettiOs. I haven't eaten SpaghettiOs since I was probably 10 years old, but I still grab them and go, son of a gun, man. The
Yep.
kids, man, they're getting Marty, your kids, the kids, Marty, they're getting the kids with
Everywhere.
the SpaghettiOs and the cereal and some of the cinnamon rolls that we used to love. We stay up late at night after
Yeah.
working and doing everything and watching some streaming services till 2 in the morning sometimes. And at 12 o'clock when you're not supposed to feed the gremlins, man, put in some cinnamon rolls, babe, or put in a pizza. And I'm paying
Yep.
attention, going, damn it, they got us again. So at least
Yep.
I'm refusing to eat any of it, and my brother also helped me, to really pay attention to it
Yep.
again. Anyway, I started getting down many branches of
That's
my
true,
thoughts.
but you're absolutely right because it comes down to the soil has been depleted for unfortunately a couple few decades, like noticeably. I mean, ever since the advent of the petroleum age and chemical and DDT and all the things they sprayed to get rid of the insects and so forth and so on. I mean that ruins the entire biosystem of of the soil. It needs the bugs. It needs all the bugs. It needs the worms. It needs the nitrogen, the hydrogens. It needs all of that. These fields in the US and around the world, they're being sprayed to not only kill the insects, which are a part of the propagation of our food, they're killing all the microorganisms in the soil. So we're able to grow things in the soil, but it's depleted of nutrients. So
So that fruit
yes,
or
you
food.
could be eating organic. You could be eating all the best. I'm eating. Yeah, people saying I'm a vegetarian and I eat this and I eat all the stuff and I got my tests done, my blood test, and I'm like deficient everywhere. Like, what's going on? Doesn't make any sense. Well, it makes perfect sense because that is the exact result from what our big ag uh, practices have created over the decades, and that's where we're at now. And they made that saying pretty well known in the, oh, I don't know, 2015, 2016, when they were doing the really good documentaries about farming and food, and forks over knives and those things that were really really good documentaries. Is that we are a nation who is overfed and undernourished. We're eating food like products. The fresh foods that we are getting are depleted of nutrients, and it goes hand in hand with um, monocrops instead of diversifying tons of different crops. They're just going to do one crop for 1,000 acres. It's just like all soy instead of it being a small rotational crop to feed in nitrogen, because soy does have an upside, especially before it was GMO'd. That soy would just be a rotational crop to prepare the soil for the actual big harvesting crop. It
Yeah.
wouldn't be the main thing. Well, they started using soy way too much in the 80s, and all of a sudden they said, well, geez, we got to do something with all the soy. And all of a sudden soy turned into a health food, which was never meant to be a health food because there's so many estrogenic properties to it. It's not the best thing for men, and it may be helpful in some ways to women, but the estrogen content of soy, it kind of went off the charts. But again, they're making vast fortunes off of soy in the 80s, so all of a sudden it's a health food, which it really isn't. And they said, well, what about the Asian countries? They've been eating that for decades and centuries. No, that's fermented soy. It's not the normal soy. Once you ferment it, it changes everything. There's probiotics. It helps the microbiome. Changes everything. It's night and day. It's apples and oranges. So it's insane what's happened in our farmlands for decades. So what you're talking about is the result of those practices, and it's not doing anybody any good except their pocketbook, but
Right.
it's killing our soil.
And it's making America and Americans, and when I say America, Americans, just everyone living in this country that we call America, uh, unhealthy. And I believe, and I think I even read it somewhere, but for sure I believe that the lack of nutrients that this body needs to operate, that this machine, call it what you want, body, machine, whatever, exoskeleton, I don't care. It needs certain fuels. It needs
Yep.
certain energies. It needs
Yep.
these things that were designed for it. And so, do you have any recommendations on any trace minerals? And I use that word trace minerals because you know what? I was never really into even researching any of this. And
Mm-hmm.
those trace minerals being different than some of the other vitamins and whatnot, I imagine, and
Right.
maybe I'm wrong. But so, what trace minerals are there any in, that you recommend that you think people should? Hey, you should, or is there a test? If there's no test, we already know the food's
Right.
lacking. So, what trace minerals or what few things without overwhelming people? Because everyone, you should do your own research. I'm going to throw this out there real quick. Quick
Right.
disclaimer: we're not telling you to do anything. We're not
Yep.
telling you that you need to go out and buy nothing. We're not selling you nothing. And we're not giving you any medical advice. And we're not giving you no legal advice. But we
Correct.
are sitting here talking about our experiences and sharing them with you. So, with that said, in your experience, what would you suggest? What are you looking for yourself in any trace minerals to help keep you healthy? And then, because we're talking about crops, right after you answer that, I would like to talk about crop circles. Transition there. So,
Yep. Great question, and that is one thing that we're definitely deficient in is those trace minerals. So first, the company Trace Minerals. There is a company that is called that. Um, I buy their products. I actually have a couple of their products right now. It's a very good company. Those are, what would I say? Some of the better trace minerals. Again, I'm not a doctor. It's it's what I have found that works well for me and has worked well for others. That things that contain humus and fulvic acid is what's missing in a lot of our soil. A lot of those trace minerals that you're mentioning that are void in our soil now. So these liquid trace minerals, and most of them are organic or organically sourced. Those are the two main things that I find: humus, and I think that's HUMMUS, humus and fulvic acid. Those two are very needed by the body. Um, I do some shilajit, if you're familiar with shilajit. That is a resin that it's ancient. It's got trace minerals that I think they're only found in like the Himalayan area. Ancient beds. It's a very thick, smelly resin, but I heat it down and I put it in like teas or cacao drinks, those types of things. There's very good products out there that you can replenish the lack of trace minerals in your body. And again, there is a company called Trace Minerals, and as long as it's sourced well, I mean, you can't go wrong. Um, what was the other thing I was going to add?
while you're thinking about that, we got some folks. I want to make sure you can hear me all right, because I start leaning back, talking, and this I'm not having my other microphone, so I'll make sure to lean forward. Secondly,
Yep.
Craig Andes, but still bring to forefront of your consciousness what you were going to say before we transition.
Mm-hmm.
Nicholas Burnett says, well, first Craig. Craig says, research how different metals and algae growth blooms happen, and then look at what they're using for weather modification is total recipe for disaster. Nicholas Burnett says, I have all my seeds going in my windowsill right now, baby. Well, right on. And then and then Craig Andes is saying, read about how soy affects our DNA and how it's held together. You probably know about that, Michael.
Yep.
Nicholas Burnett says, like I said, your mic is quiet, Dan. So hopefully, yeah, I got to stop leaning back. Hopefully you're hearing me. Nicholas is making mention of the crop circle behind your head, Michael. And then Nicholas also says, good water, good cannabis, and good love are the best medicines. And I don't disagree. I don't disagree. I haven't puffed on cannabis in quite some time myself, but I am a major supporter and always have been. And it's always good medicine, and it is medicine. And one other thing I'll say, and I know you agree, is our our Native American ancestors have had the formula for growing and caring not only for the land but for ourselves in their ways. Man, do I wish that our systems would get more in line with the ancient native teachings, because that would be really wonderful for all of us. So, what was that last
Indeed.
thing that you were searching for to share? And then let's move on to crop
Yes.
circles.
Trying to think what it was. I think it was just the just the trace minerals and just replenishing that. Even good, just anything that you can get in you that has a good amino acid profile. Um, that's huge because we lack that as well.
Funny you say that. We just went to Health Unlimited today, and I've seen Joe Rogan talk about some, the little thingy, right? So I walk in there and I
Yep.
say, because no lie, dude, I used to, you know, way quicker be able to have my words, and I find myself lacking for the things that I want to pull forward from the consciousness. I said, you know what?
Yep.
And I heard Joe speak about his amino acid mixture, whatever. So walked into Health Unlimited, and this is not a commercial for Health Unlimited, but they're
Right.
local, and I was able to talk to them opposed to just
There
buying
you
on
go.
Amazon. And they
Yep.
hooked me up with the last bottle, so it's apparently pretty pretty popular. But do you know if that's a quality product that he talks about, that amino? It's some kind of brain thing. If you don't, that's
Yeah,
fine.
I know exactly. Yeah, I think I've seen that before too. I've never taken it. I'm unaware of it, but if it's got a good amino acid profile, I mean, it's beneficial to the body
Yeah,
because that's the building blocks to everything.
yeah.
So I would not discourage that.
I'll be taking it, and I shall report back to you if it makes any difference.
There you
If I
go.
get a lot dumber
Please
real
do.
quick, or if if I get smarter, because you never know, man. There's a lot of vaporware out there. Joe
It's
Rogan, I
true.
know you're watching, Joe. You're always watching me, of course, right? So if you're
You bet.
watching, brother, we're gonna let you know if your suggested brain fog fixer it really works, and we'll report back. Crop circles, dude. You've been on top of crop. I've always reach out to you when there's crop circles, or if I'm sharing something, man. You are always there, ready to go. Bam. So what's the latest? Any new sightings? Any new crop circles? If there are no new ones, what were the
Right.
latest? And break it down. What's the latest news on all that?
Well, this last season, and I hate to use that because now it's turned into like spring, summer, fall crop circle season. It was never like that, but now it is. And what goes hand in hand with the crop circle season is things are mostly man-made now. Um, I am in agreement with. I'll call him a colleague. I've talked to him in person, met him a few times, sat down, had a couple conversations with Freddie Silva. Freddie Silva is an amazing researcher. He does a lot of stuff, ancient sites, power places, things like that. But his book, I think it's Mysteries in the Field. Um, he he seems to think about 90 to 95% of all formations these days are man-made. The authentic ones through the 90s, early mid 2000s were still pretty plentiful, and then they started tailing off. Um, there are some amazing field artists out there. I know a couple of them. They reside in the UK. I can tell you that they think
Slick.
they're not nice people sometimes because to them there's no such thing as a real phenomenon. So when I get into a discussion with them, it usually leads to harsh words and bad words and name calling, and it's hard to believe it's all about art for them. And I said, you guys, you're amazing artists. What you do, I can't even fathom how you do it. I've seen how they do some of them. But the main thing I always try to impress, whether I'm giving a 2-hour presentation or I'm just answering a question, the main thing that people need to know is that a man made formation and an authentic one, and when I say authentic, I mean simply non man made. It's not made by people, it's made by otherwise. There is no similarity on the inside. Visually, they've gotten so good, you can't really tell one from the other. Now, some people say, oh, there's no way. There's no way people can make that formation that I saw last summer. It's impossible. There's no way they could do that. They can. And I've seen, I mean, they're using, laser guided things and they're dialing in the geometry great with
Is it
tools.
is it changing the molecular structure of the plants, weeds, crops, whatever it is that are they manipulating that as well today now as these artists, or that sets the phenomena apart? Because years and years ago, you've worked with Linda Moulton Howe. I remember her doing
Right.
research and to where there was changes. I think at whatever
Right.
you know better than me. And then there's also authentic footage of orb-like orbs from the 80s or 90s caught on film,
Right.
shooting over land and crops being formed. And this was before these guys probably were born, I bet.
I think you're right. Yeah, in the early '90s, there was the one famous one at a place called Oliver's Castle, and that was, it was a good. The jury's still kind of out on that, to be honest, because there's two different versions. One said the guy who did that video actually worked in a studio, and then something else came out after that saying no, the video was taken after this time. He wouldn't have had time to do anything in the studio, and so forth and so on. But you touched upon the correct differentiating point, is that the man-made ones never contain the characteristics of the non-man-made one. So the soil is changed at a biophysical and a biochemical level. The stocks are changed at the same biophysical, biochemical level. The mitochondrial testing is different. So everything that is changed in a non-man-made formation is all internal. That's not done by stomping, crushing, using a sod roller, planks and ropes. That doesn't happen that way. And, we've got technology now that can, well, it was actually back in the 90s and 2000s with Mr. Levengood that I worked with on the formation that was in Arizona in 2007. The respiration of the field can be measured, which in layman's terms, what that means is this machine and the respiration and the microscope and what we're looking at inside can measure the literal respiration, excuse me, of the stalk of this side of the field, the middle of the field, and the other side of the field, which may span, 500 feet, which means that field in its entirety was all affected at the same exact time. It didn't start over here. It's kind of like if you were to cut open apples at different times. You could tell by the browning of the apples which one you cut first, which one was second, and which one was third, simply from that time lapse. So that proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that the authentic formations were all created by that same type of energy, which falls into a microwave range. And it was all done within seconds to maybe a couple minutes on the long side. So this is not happening over 6 to 8 hours of a team of guys out there with laser guides and then all kinds of sod rollers. And no. Plus, they leave broken stalks everywhere. They leave scuff marks everywhere. They leave footprints everywhere. If you've ever been in a rapeseed field, which is canola, they have these yellow flowers on them that are moist and sticky. If you walk through a rapeseed field, it's everywhere. It's stuck on you like pollen everywhere. These stalks still have that powdery pollen on the stalks. They haven't been rubbed off, crushed off, stepped off. nothing. They're still intact. It's kind of like the little dandelions that you can blow. Imagine you running through that and all of those dandelion heads are still intact. That doesn't happen. So there's so many differences, and that's been proven beyond the shadow of a doubt. So even these guys who are the amazing artists that they are, they refuse to acknowledge that there's a real phenomena. And you just kind of have to back out of the conversation when they start calling you names and you're an idiot and you're a charlatan and you're a this and you're a that. It's like, no, I'm not a charlatan when it comes to crop formations, and neither are the other scientists who are doing this work seriously, like Levengood. We're just following the science and where it takes us. Like, we are literally allowing the fields and the plants and the stalks to tell the story. We're just documenting their story.
Well, and it's
So,
disingenuous for them to say that to you because you're not you're not there to create the crop circle. You're an investigator. You're a researcher. You're
yep,
going to research these things. How can you be a charlatan when you know when you're not going, hey guys, come check out my backyard where this new crop circle showed up,
right,
right? And
exactly.
it's amazing. It happens every weekend, and I don't ever see anyone here. But look at these crop circles. No,
Yeah,
you're going
yeah,
to investigate crop circles that have appeared somewhere else, and sure, some of them can
exactly.
be fake. But yeah, that's disingenuous for them to say that.
Yep,
In fact, that makes me think that they are disinformation organizations or individuals within their organization just to
yeah.
foo-foo and make anyone feel bad for believing they could
Oh,
be
yeah.
authentic.
Yep.
And
Well, if you think about it, the dichotomy of this phenomena is the field. I won't call them hoaxers, although there are hoaxers. The field artists, all they have to do for, we'll say, one season, all they have to do is not create a
anything,
man-made formation
right?
for one season.
Yep.
Don't do your art, and I'll call it art. I'll be nice.
Yeah.
Don't do your art for a whole season or a whole summer. Don't step into one of those fields, and then we'll see what appears. Because they're the ones who are propagating this mystery and this argument. Well, if you guys stop doing what you do,
There'll be
then let
none,
the
right?
natural, let the real phenomena do what it does, and then we'll see. But they refuse to do that,
Yeah, and
and
Craig Andes brings up something to share with him if you ever find yourself talking with him again. He brings up the Nazca lines, are so much more fascinating than modern people making crop circles. They distract from an understanding. But he brings up a good point is, okay, you want to go ahead and foo this, but why would the ancients make these figures in Nazca? They're even in California. These large,
yeah,
designs that are made that you can only see from above. There's something from above that they are reaching out to. I mean, and it doesn't exactly correlate, and someone could say, Dan, what are you talking about? I'm making sense to me. And that is that the ancients who were doing some things, they were doing some art, let's say, even though it was more than art, but they were doing it for someone up there and to see it because they
yep,
would be the only
yep,
ones that could see it and appreciate it or know what the communication was. So
yep,
it's just they're locked into one thing. If they exclude every other phenomena that's ever happened on Earth, sure they might have an argument that crop circles are baloney. But you can't just exclude every other phenomena and mystery and try to limit it to just crop circles are only a mystery. No, dude, the
right,
pyramids are a
right.
mystery. The Nazca
Yeah,
lines
and
are
they're multifaceted too. I mean, there's I've given presentations on crop formations, and the ones that I personally investigated and did the field work in, like when I worked in conjunction with Levengood and Linda Moulton Howe, is there's healing properties to some of the authentic formations. that was never really discussed before. A lot of the investigators in the 90s and the 2000s were like, well, we have to decipher this code. We have to decipher this shape and the sacred geometry and what's it trying to tell us? Well, again, I'm a symbols guy, so I could just meditate on a picture of a crop formation. I got crop formation cards that I use for some of my clients because they hold keys and they hold codes, and it just downloads. You don't need to decipher it. You don't need your left brain to try to figure it out. Just let it flow. Let that vision come into your eyes, and it'll go in, and it'll do something to you on some level. But there's individuals over the years who have spent time in authentic formations, and whatever type of ailment that they were suffering from disappeared after spending a few hours in some formations. So there is measurable frequencies inside of some formations. Um, there are, I've got stories about people who would ingest some of the seeds in the affected crop, taking a couple seeds each and every day, and whatever ailment they had, it went away. So it was almost like these particular crop formations were filling in missing frequencies of these particular individuals. And once these formations kind of did their job, these people were fine. I remember a gentleman who had allergies, really bad allergies, no more allergies after he spent 2 or 3 hours in this formation. One gentleman had a tumor in his eye that he had planned on getting the eyeball removed. Eventually, he was the one who ingested the seeds. The tumor in his eye disappeared, never came back. Arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, so very painful. RA, back pain, knee inflammation, you name it. There's been amazing healing stories from those formations. So there's a whole list of what are they? What are they meant to tell us? What are they trying to tell us? There's a lot, and yes, balls of light and things like that have been seen in around the the authentic ones. There is a connection. I've seen some in the fields that I investigated. I've had pictures. Um, some are physical structures, literal, like looks like a big ball bearing just floating just
Yeah,
around the field,
I've seen them in action.
intelligently guided. Yep, those are amazing. And others look more like almost like just self illuminating orbs that are. Some ask if they're intelligent. I don't know if the orb themselves are intelligent, but they are intelligently guided. So when I look at it that way, it could be just a drone from something else that is higher in our atmosphere
Yep.
and sends it down and it's doing its work and then it goes up and it's gone. So I've seen the intelligently guided orbs in fields like that. And there was actually one in not Rockland, it's in that area, Sassoon Valley, that area. I'm drawing a blank.
That's all right. Well,
That was in like two.
this is a great time to transition anyway, because earlier we were talking about certain things, and this is a great time to transition into orbs and some of the things that we're being seen on the East Coast being heavily reported, but
Ah,
worldwide, really, across the Americas, across the globe. And earlier we had someone ask if you had any new information on any of that stuff, because we know recently the White House spokesperson came out and said they were drones and they were approved by the FAA and they were doing research. Now, I agree that that's probably what some were, but there still doesn't explain the unexplainable ones that were clearly not your normal orbs, because I've seen real orbs close and far, denseness. self-illuminating intelligence, all the above. But once again, turning this to you, do you? And I want to let me read some things really quick. So hold on to this. We're going into
Sure.
orb transition.
Hmm.
I don't want to miss Craig's comments. There are pyramids everywhere. Undoubtedly, a very connected ancient culture. Yes, absolutely. A global culture. Call it
Yeah.
Atlantis, call it whatever you want. I like to use the word Atlantis, global, pyramids, everywhere. And he says he can show us some new ones, and I'm down to see that. Um, magnetically guided, he's probably talking about some of the things we were just talking about. I Snot says, yes, Snot Q. Michael, have you found any info on orbs and drones? So here we go. See, this is what we're about to get to. Have you found any info on the orbs and drones and what they are looking for other than looking for something that was stolen or missing? Any comments on that? And that's what I was basically going to get to as well. What info do you have for us outside of what we've been told now by the White House?
Right. The only thing that I've gotten um, is that the majority of, especially in the New Jersey area, that those drones, especially the ones with a lot of lights with obvious sound to them, those are man-made drones. Now the orbs are something different. So I would call the orbs that some people have seen, they're like plasmoid orbs. So it's a form of plasma. It's a biological. It is intelligent. It is not from here. Um, some have suggested they are from ET craft that are sent down here like scouts. I'll say scouts so we're not confusing it with drones because one time drone was
Or
just another word.
probes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm with
Probe.
you. I'm with you
Yeah.
on the plasmoids, man, for
Right.
sure. Continue.
Exactly. Yeah. So there is a real component to what's been going on. Um, and it's not all earth based. It gets really, uh, there's a lot of moving parts. So I kind of equate it and compare it to back in 97, the first time we had the Phoenix Lights here in Arizona. The military was kind of like, uh-oh, like there's something really big in our airspace, at least a mile wide. We don't know what it is. It's not shown up on radar, but we're outside looking at it with our eyes. We need a diversion. We need to send up flares. We need to send our jets up there. We need to start doing the long, I call them long burning flares, and we need to put a little bit of a distraction out there. So in this thing, we figure out what we're going to say officially. We can just blame it on the flare. It's going to be the flare theory. So a lot of these drones that we're seeing, especially on the East Coast, they were covers for the plasmoid orbs. The orbs are not, again, they're not ours. They're theirs. They're up there. Um, what's interesting about that, and I'll interject this really quick because I think it's pretty important. If anybody out there, any of our listeners know a gentleman named Cliff High. Cliff High is, I don't think he's a remote viewer. He knows remote viewers. He knows the gentleman in the future forecasters that I mentioned earlier. But Cliff High, and I can't remember the name of his, it's like a software he invented, and it has to do with scenarios and future scenarios and so forth. That he pretty much nailed the orbs and the drones things, like almost right down to the day, if it wasn't the day. He mentioned something about he saw a conversation between Joe Rogan, Donald Trump, and this wasn't like a recent conversation. This was back. And then he gave like days. He said like 39 days after that conversation between Rogan and Trump, we're going to have an air show of some kind. It's going to be either extraterrestrial, it's going to be military, and or both. But that's what I'm seeing. And the future forecasters, remote viewers, they looked at it and they kind of corroborated things and like, wow, this is going to be interesting. And sure enough, I mean, this occurred.
To the day,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken. And if
Yeah.
I'm not mistaken,
Yep.
Cliff basically created a program that basically scanned the World Wide Web, if I'm not mistaken. I did a video on this.
Yeah.
And I believe he scans the World Wide Web and came with these predictions. And straight up mind blowing. Donald Trump and Joe Rogan. This was before there was ever a Joe Rogan podcast. This is like,
I
I wish I had
yeah.
the year in front of me, but like 2007 or 8 or 9, or I could be
It
wrong. But
was pre pretty much everything. So
yes,
yeah, it was a pretty wild prediction.
I'm curious what else he said, because I didn't dive deep beyond the Donald Trump, Joe Rogan, and the
Right.
orbs that he said was going to be happening. So I'm curious to go do a little deep
Me too.
dive and
Me
see
too.
what else that he may have said, because he was dead on for that.
Well, and it's funny because of course, the naysayers are going to say, well, Cliff High's been wrong, so many times, or inaccurate, or this and that. And I have to remind people that baseball players who win the home run records, they also have the most strikeouts. You know what I mean? So it's like that just because somebody's inaccurate, it doesn't take away their accuracies. So
And not just
Cliff's
that,
been
but
very good.
yeah, and timelines can shift and jump. And so, it is possible that something transpired. One of us consciousnesses was
Yes.
powerful enough to timeline jump us or shift our timeline to
Yeah.
make some of these things possibly not happen,
Yeah.
that weren't beneficial for us. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, it doesn't mean we're going to get everything right. And some things some things are meant for us to, in hindsight, realize, well, that is what they were talking about. And
Yep.
there was no need for anyone to try to change anything or whatnot. But it's just, once again, more glimpses into the mysterious and unexplained
Hmm.
phenomena that happens in this world. and
Right.
and and it keeps, hopefully, people awake and eyes wide open, saying, all right, there's
Yeah. You bet.
something, different, or something strange going
Oh
on here
yeah.
that
But
yeah.
I will say that between my research, between my personal experiences, I've I mean, it's been many years that I've always known or have been told in one way or the other, and it's not always a sentence of perfect English. It's communication comes in many different ways. That I was told that things like this in this time frame. So, like you said, from Piscean age to Aquarius, pre 2030, usually after 2015, moving into the 2020s, that things were going to be ramping up regarding, our cosmic family.
Yep.
So whether that means preparing us a little bit more for more open contact rather than individual contact, because contact has been made forever. It's usually just on an individual basis. The official disclosure, I mean, that's been out of the bag for a long time already. But the government is trying to do the drip, drip, drip disclosure. They want that to take forever.
And that
They're
was
just
a
buying.
part of why ancient aliens existed. I'm sure that,
Yeah.
and I don't know if I'm supposed to say stuff like this. I'm sure if somehow I was able to trace the money, Ancient Aliens is probably was funded some way, somehow, through a covert program that allowed it to get on and keep cooking somehow, some way, and that's one of those things I say for a good, actually,
Mhm.
to where, people aren't jumping out of buildings like in the 40s, or whenever Orson
Yeah.
Welles,
Right.
did his War of the Worlds radio show, and people thought it was real.
Yep.
So there's some good to that.
Yep.
And what else was I gonna say in regards I don't know. I got caught up in my own thoughts. So
Well, and I'll try to jog your memory. I love like the conversation is out there. I personally love to see these whistleblowers talking about,
Yes, that's
at the congressional hearings. It's wild
wonderful.
to just sit there and listen to it. It's wild. It's like, wow. I mean, it's like some of us have already known this, but it's nice to see it at this level. But at the same time, see, they're at a point because of this disclosure from, I'll say, a handful of races of beings who look just like us. I'll just leave it at that. They're not the grays. They're just like us. They they're ramping it up, but at the same time, the disclosure and the government, people go, well, why are they talking about it then? Like, they're doing a lot of good. They're telling people. They got the whistleblowers. Well, it's really a matter of they can't stop this information from coming out anymore. It's beyond suppression. It's beyond. I mean, Roswell. Look how long that's been going on. I mean, it's.
But in the grand scheme of things, in the grand
You know how
scheme
many
of
things have happened since
timelines,
Roswell?
yeah, but it's still a blip, truly. And
Yep.
and you reminded me of some of the things that I want to touch on, that the disclosure, that why and I think same thing, agree 100%. Hey, it kind of makes me smile, makes me kind of giddy, makes me kind of go ooh ooh, and not because we didn't know, but because
Right.
there are a group of people, and God bless them, who
Mm-hmm.
don't want to hear it from us and won't believe it from us. But as
Nope.
soon as any government agency, Congress starts talking about it and sharing and saying there's whistleblowers and stuff, there's a new level of
Now it's
awakening.
real.
Now it's real for a whole group of people to at least now be like, whoa. Whether they still 100% believe or not, that, okay, something's up, because they're now admitting it. And some will say, oh, Project Bluebeam, it's just all a part of the con. Well,
Right.
before Project Bluebeam ever came into anyone's concepts or ideas or even shared with us somehow, whether released
Yep.
under the table as whistleblowers releasing stuff, our ancient natives have already told us, man, there are star brothers and sisters,
You
period.
bet.
Whether those stars are dimensions popping in and out, which I'm convinced of, even our
Yep.
Bible, you know, whether you call them demons and angels and spirits, every single ancient text, every single ancient civilization has already told us what it is. And if we step out of that fear and just say, okay, there are other realms and there are other people besides me and you, and perfectly fine, I could deal with that.
Yep.
And some of these people who hear it from the government still can't deal with it and might be scared, but you know what? They're not going to jump out of their windows and kill themselves.
No.
Two,
No.
with all that stuff, I actually want to say that I've been given visions and dreams of of
Mm-hmm.
of exactly what's happening. I think I posted last year. I may have even posted and even created a little AI image of a bunch of UFOs and orbs, and I shared it. I'm pretty sure last year, sometime not too long ago, saying, "Hey, I had a dream, and this was my dream," so I even put it out there. And sure enough, we're having more of those things happen. So a lot of us are being who are already in the know. A lot of us who are tuned in to participating in the unfoldment
Yeah.
of transition. So I guess what I'm saying, and I watch some of these things back and go, Dan, what in the heavens are you saying, man? Now I know what I'm saying, but I don't know if everyone understands me, because
Right.
I feel like I don't get all my thoughts out because they're exploding in the spiritual realm. But
Yep.
they can't stop it now. So
No.
whether Prime Directive, and they don't want to, and those higher beings that are there, angels,
Yep.
aliens, whatever you want to call them, aren't intervening, or governments not wanting to tell us, or wanting to tell us, the elites, whoever, all that stuff out the window. We
Mm-hmm.
are in this time that it can't
Yep.
be stopped, or else we wouldn't be talking
No.
about it on this level, and we wouldn't be seeing all of the things that we're seeing and capturing. Not that it hasn't happened in the past, it has, but it is that time, man. I am convinced we are in this wonderful
Yep.
time that we will possibly, and when I say we, Again, not me and you because we've already had the experience. We already know what we know for ourselves. But on a
Hmm.
mass level of current incarnation of folks living right now will experience the unbelievable in their minds of realities of other intelligent, wonderful life. In no
Yep.
way do I believe that
Mm.
there is an evil. Don't get me wrong. I know that there are things out there, even draconian and
Sure.
blah blah blah.
There's self-serving species out there, just like there are here.
Just like humans, right? Just
Yep.
like humans. But
Yep.
once again, I don't look at it as I don't look at it as a race out there that is coming to destroy us and eat us and kill us because if I'll jump into saying if they exist, if they are that evil, and if they have the technology to traverse the star systems, they can kick our butts and handle and do whatever they want instantly. They don't need to ask questions. They don't need to wait on our government. They ain't concerned about none of that. And because it's never happened. I say it's never happened. It's been human race accepting and agreeing, if anything. But there's been no scary come take us over and do us in type of stuff. I think it's
And our
all
military has shot at them.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
I
And
mean,
they
we're the
have
ones.
we're being aggressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yep.
in no way do I think that anyone needs basically I guess what I'm getting at is nobody needs to be fearful of the potential of some alien invasion. If there ever is an alien invasion, I would say that is a masquerade. That is your Project Blue Beam slash
Yeah.
conspiracy stuff going down. But
Yep.
it won't be real uh, people who are thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of years advanced than us in technology and in existence.
Nope.
Once again, common sense. It don't make no sense.
Exactly. Well said.
Yeah.
Well said. And again, the government disclosure, all they're trying to do because they can't hold it back, they're just trying to stretch it out. They're just trying to stretch it out as long as they can. That's it. They're gonna tell us again what we need to think because they're gonna tell us in little pieces. And they're gonna if it's up to them, it'll take 50 years for them to get to the fact that, oh yeah, there's definitely, ETs out there. Because they love talking about the objects when the conversation should be who's flying the objects.
Right.
They'll have the objects on the news all day long, but you'll never hear them bring in who's flying the objects.
Right.
And that was established in like 2017 when the first disclosure go around happened. And nobody, like you said, nobody jumped off a building. The sun rose in the morning. Everything was fine. That was their first disclosure attempt. Nothing happened with that either, but they wouldn't talk about who was flying them.
Right.
That was the thing. Now
Yeah.
that's where the conversation is at, and
Yeah.
they need to address that. They're going to try to make that last as long as possible too. But I think our cosmic family is they're gonna push the envelope to where the government is just gonna they're not gonna have a choice but to just report on what's happening rather than creating the report themselves.
Right. One of our buddies here, Craig Andes, earlier, and Craig, sorry for not reading it earlier, but he had made a comment, and I'm not reading it exactly because I'm staying current with the comments. He had said something about where he didn't necessarily believe in ETs, that he believed it was more of us from the future.
Hmm.
And I don't want to take anyone's ideas from him or say I don't, because whatever you believe, I'm cool with you believing, what you believe, and I believe what I believe, and I'm not saying that that's not right. What I am saying though, what you spark inside of me by that is there are beings that are already on this planet, and they are in our oceans. They have underwater, we'll call them bases or homes or civilizations. So kind of in line with what you're saying, Craig. They have been here forever too. Just as we have been up here on the top surface, they have been down there. They have technology. Also, places like Antarctica, which Michael, I know you're super familiar with as well, where we have access to underground into the inner earth and into another parts of the earth that have always have been rumored to have these other civilizations to the Grand Canyon, ancient peoples and wise ones and other races that are within this planet. So it is possible. I want to say this that sure, it is possible that a lot of these other intelligent beings and craft are from Earth, but not from humans as we know it and talk about ourselves, but from other races. Now, we're all a cosmic family, so it's not like we're still in the same universe and the same cosmos. So, as far as I'm concerned, we're family. But that could kind of fall in line maybe with what you're saying. Maybe not because you say it's us from the future, but it doesn't have to be from the future. They could be these other races, beings
Yep.
that are here and have been here. I have seen, as a kid, and some of you may have heard me say this before, as a little kid at my grandmother's house, I've had the slee stack or draconian, I call him slee stack from, remember, Land of the Lost.
Yep.
I've had that type of being come visit me too. I've also, in fact, met a shapeshifter, and they were actually a public official, not at state level. I won't even say where, so they weren't like super high, but whose eyes 100%, we would have dialogue, and he would straight go cat eye, straight cat eye, and start almost because we were having deep conversations, and I did not allow for the game he was trying to run on me for something. Once again, won't get too deep about it, but for real, he was like reframing from shifting. It was
Wow.
really, really strange. So I don't want to sound too out there for those of you who may be listening and want to, tone it down a little bit. But yeah, there I am, passionate again, brother.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So what's your what? Let's see. Hold on. Questions. Here's a question for you. Does Michael know of Chris Bloodsoe and his ordeal? Do you know about that?
I do. Chris Bledsoe. Yeah, he's well, keep it short. Yeah, he's legit. He's his experiences are legit, and he's a good guy. So yes. Oh,
I apologize. Um, I haven't heard of Chris, so and maybe other folks haven't. And you know what, man? I want to respect your time too. It's 10:22.
it
So
is.
yeah, I just
Which
realized that.
which is actually 11:22 here.
For you, right? So I don't want to be I don't, Matter of fact, let's not touch any further on Chris Bloodsoe. You know who he is.
I
That could
do.
be another time for me. I want to respect your time because I've already probably taken up way more time than you signed up for.
I've
Um,
enjoyed every second of it.
no, me too, man. So do you have to go, or be good for you to go in a couple minutes? Do we want to wrap this up? So, because I got a wrap up question or two.
I mean,
Um,
I would love to take a wrap up question or two.
okay, cool.
Yeah.
So advice for other experiencers like yourself. Do you have any advice? Because things, as we've talked about all night, things are coming online, more activity, more experiences. Other people are primed for their awakening. What advice would you give to someone who may come into an experience like you or I have had, and what can they do to be prepared for that? And if they're listening to this or watching it live or watching it later, this is a moment for them to receive. That's why they've been appointed to listen and watch. What advice do you
Yeah.
have for them?
The first advice is if you find yourself in a situation, whether it's a really personal one, like in your home, you're turning in for the night, you may be in the bedroom, if you're out driving, if you're out camping, whatever it may be, first and foremost is and sometimes it's difficult to stay calm, um, to breathe, to really take in what's happening, observe, check in with yourself, how you're feeling. You know, does it feel dark? Does it feel malevolent? Does it feel peaceful, or does it just feel weird and you're not quite sure what to make of it? Because I've had situations like that where I've got to stop and go, "Whoa, is this happening right now? Like, what is this?" Stay as grounded as possible in the moment. Now, if we're also talking about just in general, like your day to day life, you're starting to see some things that you may not have noticed before. Feeling things, thinking things, sensations, what I would call like messages. Because we all have an awakening that's a little bit different than others. It can come in many different forms. I'm a firm believer that everything is always in divine order. If you are being contacted or you feel like something is trying to contact you, there's probably a really good reason for that. Um, I mean, we are all here to be awakened and to have those experiences. You can really take it as far as you feel comfortable with. Um, if it's something that you don't feel comfortable with, you know, you can make that choice. Like, hey, I'm not ready for this. Like, whoever this is, whatever it is, I'm not ready for this, and please just, yeah, go away. I don't feel comfortable. Like we were talking about earlier, if you feel you need to invoke the, name of Jesus, you can do that as well. Um, for me, I feel like staying grounded, calm, really taking in that moment, I think is very important. The moment we get into fear, I mean, anything could look uh, dark and malevolent. So your demeanor is going to really help yourself evaluate what's going on in that moment. So grounded, calm, and breathe. It's very important. Yeah.
Yep, I agree with you. Breathing, a lot of us aren't even taking deep breaths. We're
No.
such shallow, breathing so shallow.
Yep.
I also want to ring in and say, because we're kind of wrapping this up. We spoke about what can we do about the food that we're about to eat. Some of us may not be able to afford organic foods, and so
Right.
I believe that there is a metaphysical way to address that issue. One of those ways is, we'll call it, praying over our food, speaking to our food and saying, "You are at its core, it is divine." All, touching on what you just said, all is divine. All is this divine substance at its deepest, most
Yep.
inner core, and we speak to it and we tell it it is good for us, and that we are eating it and we are becoming one, reunifying. And so I think
Yep.
praying over your food, praying, and once again, that could even be speaking, this food is divine substance.
Yeah.
This is divine food, divine substance. I am divinely protected. It's these affirmations, and I once again encourage us to say them with feeling too.
Yep.
If anyone is ever distraught or angry or sad about something, I believe those are moments, those are cues for us to be consciously aware
Yep.
enough to then take those emotions, and then now you've got the ingredients, substances, powers mixing together to transmute, once again, speaking about that spiritual alchemy, to transmute exactly what you're feeling, because we
Yep.
get to choose, and at every level of this experience. And so um, we spoke about a lot of things that are, I say lower level material, matter. We've spoken a lot about matter, but everything is malleable by the mind. And
Yep.
so, I do want to say that to those who say, I've got no options but to eat what I can afford to eat. but we do have the option of speaking prosperity and health over anything we're about to become one with. I
Yep.
laugh
And
as I was.
and
Yes, go ahead.
and you're right. And there is nothing that I eat that I do not bless and pray over first.
Yeah,
And I've done that for years.
yeah, yeah. And
Yep.
it's something I'm not gonna lie. Every once in a while I forget, but less and less am I forgetting because I'm so thankful and understanding. Right, it's that other level of it's a constant growth, spiritual growth.
Yeah.
That even the plants, right? And this can be a whole
Yes.
nother show. What I'm about to come out my mouth.
Yes.
Uh, the plants are alive. You talk about killing animals to eat, to have a hamburger or to have some bacon.
Yep.
Plants are alive too. So we have to really step back and realize that have a different way of looking at things. Obviously, if we don't have to eat animals, and want to say a whole other story. I get lost and
Yep.
want to say so many different things. But we are becoming one with the other
Yeah. You
life
bet.
forces and joining them, which is super special, I think. Um,
Yes.
I want to also circle back to your healing because I think right now that's a transition into this wrap up. How can people? Oh, so we got a few questions here or comments. Craig Andes, have you ever heard of any side effects of cedar poisoning? And make them short because I know we're wrapping up. Have you heard any side effects of cedar poisoning causing the opening of the pineal gland?
Ooh. I personally haven't heard of anything. It doesn't mean it hasn't occurred for some individuals, but I haven't looked too much into that method of decalcifying or cleaning out the pineal gland. So no, I can't speak to that.
Right. Okay. Craig also says perfect timing with the food thing. I'm eating bacon, bagel, bacon being the key word. um, everyone manifest your destiny. It is there before you. Yes. Ice Not says question for Michael. Do you think our blockages are the problem with not being able to self healing, your self healing yourself, trying to practice? I guess he's trying to practice, but do you think that those blockages? Hopefully, I'm saying that right. Ice not.
Um, I would say yes, and I'm assuming he's referring to like energetic blockages.
Yeah.
It's that's a big one. I would add to that. I've had individuals who do seemingly everything right. So they exercise, they meditate, they do the yoga, they eat organic, clean water. They do everything seemingly right, but they're still unhealthy to some degree and having issues and inflammations and all sorts of things. If your body is energetically blocked, like I think that's what the question is about, it doesn't seem to matter what it is you ingest, that if that negative energy blockage, that unresolved trauma, unresolved hurt, unresolved abuse, that will block your body from absorbing, having the bioavailability of all those supplements or those foods into your system. It gets bypassed because of that energetic blockage. So, yeah, to answer your question, it's very important to address the energetic healing. I won't say first, but in addition to your physical sustenance, daily intake as well, because I have seen from experience that it just doesn't. The body just doesn't let the nutrients in when the energetic blockages are there. So it's a very good question, and it's very very relevant to what I do with my clients, is to let them know that this is no one size fits all. There's a few moving parts to this, and that's a huge part of that.
And
So
that's
yeah,
what I
good.
wanted to jump in and say. I know of metaphysical practitioners who cannot heal themselves, but they
Yeah,
go to someone then like you or another practitioner to get their healing. They can heal others. They can help others heal themselves, really, as we know.
Right.
but they can't work it on themselves. And for some strange reason, a part of the existence mystery, we need each other in this realm to help each other and to come into contact with each other and get in each other's auras and energetic fields, and allowing others sometimes, right? Because even us metaphysical teachers and healers
Right.
need to be healed and led by our friends and others, and give up that leadership role for a moment and be led, or to be
Hmm.
healed, to be helped. And so I want people to know they can reach out to you. I don't know what you charge, or what the program is, but you are offering remote healing and working with folks. I
Right.
like that I've met some folks who claim they are the ones doing the healing. Those people I generally stay, unless we didn't get into a deep conversation to really understand what they're saying. I
Sure.
really appreciate what you've said, because I am, if you can work with whoever you want, but if they're not receptive to being healed, then it doesn't matter who is on the other end. And it's because it's never that person, even some of the more recent mystics, Joel Goldsmith, or
Right.
anyway, that guy, who is long gone now, would same stuff, remote healing, but knowing that it took the other person to receive and be ready to be healed. So reach
Right.
out to Michael. You'll find Michael FreeHawk on Facebook, probably on Instagrams,
Yeah.
TikToks, YouTubes, and talk
Yeah.
to him. Michael, do you do free consults, or what do you do to, when people reach out to you in the sense of just
Yeah.
conversation?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. They can. Anybody interested, they can even just shoot me an email as well. I mean, they can, of course, they can DM me on any social media platform. But my email, that they can contact me, and then we can chat and set up something from that point on. Yeah, I would do a consult, chat with you, and then we'll just kind of take it from there. That email address is freehawkenergy@gmail.com. Again, all one word, freehawkenergy@gmail.com. And yeah, and we'll chat. And it doesn't matter where you're at, where you're located. Um, when we're doing work like this, we're connected. As soon as I tap in, um, typically all I require when it comes to a distance healing is I'll get a picture, just a good picture of your face. Um, we'll synchronize a time, and during that time, I would say the best way to do it is you just get comfortable, whether it's sitting on a couch reading a book. You can lay down on the bed and close your eyes. We're just going to carve out probably 45 minutes. And when you're in that relaxed position, I'll be here and in my office, and I will connect that way. And then I'll start doing my work. And the best thing for you to do is, like I said, just relax, and that's all you have to do is relax and receive. And I'll pull up your hologram and start playing around with codes and what I see going on, and that's all there is to it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome,
I'll be happy to
awesome.
do that.
Um, Other things I want to say is, one, of course, Michael, thank you, brother. You have never said no to me when you probably should. Should have. No, I'm just kidding. You've always answered the call from me, so I can't tell you how much I love and appreciate you. I also want to thank, I mean, people have stuck on here the whole time we've been talking for almost 4 hours, 3 hours and 40 minutes, I think.
That's
Um,
impressive.
yeah, yeah. Love you guys and gals. You
Yeah.
mean so much to us, because we're resonating. I can't thank you enough. I can't thank you for supporting us just by watching, sharing,
Yeah.
showing up. Thank you so much for those of you who have even thrown some monetary. sponsorship slash support through the YouTube page that has those little programs on my
Mm.
YouTube. I can't thank you guys enough. Like, it means the world. It just it it's not about the money. I appreciate it. It helps, but it's also saying, hey, you find value, and it's not free for me to do what we're doing. It's not free for Michael, and we love and appreciate you. I just want to tell you that you're important to me. We may not have even ever met face to face. We may be Facebook friends. We may have met at I don't know. But all I know is that I thank you so much for being a part of this journey.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree.
yeah, is
I
there
agree.
anything that you want to say in a final wrap up? I mean, I got a few more words to say, but
Just yeah. First, thank you, Dan, because yeah, you're right. I mean, I've always felt your vibe and your intention, and it's always a good one. Um, I've always felt your heart, and it's always been in the right place. I mean, I can be choosy who I especially sit with, 4 hours and talk with. Um, I mean, all of us, the listeners, I mean, all of us could have been doing something different tonight, but it's like we're here tonight. This is important. This is a part of community, and this is really where it all begins. This is where things grow and we move forward and learn more things and pass it on and pay it forward. So thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it. It's been wonderful. Um, I didn't even think once about needing to get up early in the morning for work. So I'm not thinking about it at all, and that's a good sign because this is where I needed to be.
awesome.
So thank you for the invite. Anytime, let me know. We'll do it again.
Awesome, man. Well, yeah, because there's so I had so I'm not gonna lie. It seems to be the case every time, though. I had so many other questions to ask
Oh,
that I didn't get to, but because we're gonna do it again.
we're
Um,
gonna do it again without a doubt.
yeah, and
I'm
what you're
ready. You
doing.
let me know.
Yeah, and I'm so happy that you're doing the remote healing. You're going to be helping so many people. I'm sure helped a lot of people. I also want to say this to those of you watching now and in the future. Whenever you see this broadcast, you may have had a pain that showed up today, but was it there? At one point, it wasn't there. One day it was there, one day it wasn't, or one day it wasn't, and then one day it was. So just as it came one day, it could leave one day. A lot of the things that we're dealing with are like have been discussed earlier: childhood trauma, adult trauma. It could be something that we have held within our subconscious, something we did to somebody, or thoughts of holding on to any lack or poverty or anger or envy. All of these things are clues of what could be causing some of our ailments. And really, it comes down, what I've discovered is forgiveness and not holding on to anger with anybody, including ourselves. So I have a practice, and I've shared it before. Get a mirror, pocket mirror, your bedroom mirror. Look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself that you are worthy, you are loved, you are forgiven, and that you forgive. So basically some daily affirmations. I love everyone and everything. I'm friends with everyone and everything, and I forgive everyone and everything. Just some daily affirmations that try to make them real, because sometimes we're speaking these things and they don't really have that substance we talked about, emotion attached to them, so we feel like we're lying or just saying things without true meaning to them. But if you practice, like anything, that's why we call it a practice. Practice, 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 because you will then find one day that you will be a master of your own life, your own thoughts, your own emotions, uh, and your own actions. So, with that, I tell everyone, and I hope for everyone, you know, be strong in mind, because the world is throwing things at us. Uh, Other people's thoughts are coming at us. Our own thoughts are like boomerangs coming back at us. So be strong in mind, be kind, and love. So hopefully that resonates with everyone out there. Michael FreeHawk is one heavens of a human. By the way, man, light beings. And thank you, brother, for shining your light, sharing your energy, sharing your knowledge and expertise. Once again, Nicholas, Ice Snot, Craig, Ride Dog, Tammy's, and Adria's, and I don't want to forget anyone, but bottom line is, love you guys. Thank you. We're signing off because we've even held you guys here for too long. But one thing is for sure. Um, until we meet again, somewhere deep within the cosmos. I'm out of here. Thank you.